dijeron que en el reino. Hello there. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Beer Blather 291. We are not astonished. Yes, we're not astonished. In fact, it seems we have lost our capacity for astonishment. Every single time we think that our world cannot become more stupid, ignorant, or crass, out of left field comes a Mehdi Hassan, a Hakeem Jeffreys, a David Axelrod, a Cucker Tarlson, Stevie Yaxley, a blessed Hussein Obama, Greta Thorn-in-the-Arse, or some other creep to prove to us unequivocally that yes, it can get more stupid and unbelievable with every step they take. Take Gustavo El Cacas Petro, bottom of the toilet hoisted on the presidency of Colombia by the late and unlamented Bergoglio, a terrorist that used to train in Libya with the IRA, ETA, Montoneros, and the OLP, as I have told you so many times. Christians, atheists, and Muslims united under Soviet support to destroy liberty, publicly admitting to that and calling for the soldiers of the US to rebel against command, as if he were talking about his own shithole. Yes, he was immediately kicked in the arse and sent packing back to BogoNarnia. But the very fact that he felt entitled to praise Rosa Luxembourg in the streets of New York shows a level of mental retardation that was unimaginable until now. Just like the subhuman flotilla of smelly, dirty, uncivilized morons, led by a retard, shooting themselves with flare guns and claiming to be on the receiving end of a missile attack from Israel. Let's face it, not even a 4-year-old can be that primitive. While fighting among themselves because, oh my, there are lesbians, gays, and trans among them that will surely send them assholes into a homicidal rage. And you only notice it after 3 weeks in confined quarters? And taking to reach Tyre from Barcelona 3 times as long as, or 3 times as much time as ancient Phoenicians 3 millennia ago. Big stupidity that somehow has become as normal as well. If a pink elephant were to land on the Empire State Building and use the elevators to come down to street level so he could go walking along 34th Street, it would not be stranger than a Jew hating Ugandan communist mummy's boy who never worked a day in his life leading the polls for mayor of Bagel Town. You gotta be shitting me. But that's normal now. Up is down. Anti-racism is racism. Communism will bring prosperity and life eternal. Kobe is a man of integrity. Hillary is a statesman, and Gavin Newsom has a brain. Sure, why the crap not? And I'm a platypus. And my friend Thomas is a space alien. A friend of my father wrote a children's song in the 1960s. I never imagined it was going to be so prophetic. I was told that in the upside down world, birds swim and fishes fly, that one thief is a policeman and another one's a judge, and that 2 plus 2 is 3. Welcome to a world so incredibly fucked up that astonishment is no longer possible. This is Sol Montes Bradley, the largest human repository of useless information. I have to take a breather. Right here with my friend, Thomas Victor, not the platypus, the other one, from California, suffering the ill effects of the retard governor. The only living expert in World War One flamethrowers, and probably the last one, considering how many people are studying instead of, I don't know, masturbating to the tunes of some Palestine. And this is Dear Blather. Hello, Thomas. How are you?
Going good. My state has benefited outrageously from the deportations. The official number of deportations is 2 million, but that only counts illegals who use the app so that they can get in line. It doesn't count the people who just hopped on the bus and got out of
Yeah.
Dodge. And my quality of life has improved exponentially. Um, okay, the state itself is going to do what I predicted, and the voters are going to get dumber, and they're going to fall more and more deeply in love with more and more authoritarian. They're going to do what Canada did, and we're going to end up with some tin pot dictator running the state.
Well, I thought you had him already.
Yeah, but he's so stupid that everything he does gets overturned, even by leftist judges.
Yep.
So if we get a smart dictator, basically it'll be like Germany, where the guy said, "Elect me, and I'll become your dictator," and they said, "Okay."
Sure, why
So
not?
I think Germany is the only case of a democracy choosing to become a totalitarian state.
In practice, take a look at Chile. They're on their way.
True. Okay, up until
And
now.
and the Peronists in Argentina and the Brazilians elected Lula.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So up until
And
recently,
don't forget President Maricón in France.
true.
Yeah, it seems to be socialism is a place that people get into by voting and out of by dying or fighting for their lives.
Well, remember, there's some annual report on the state of democracy, and they would always, tell us that democracy is under threat, and they always implied that it was under threat from conservatism. And
Yep.
you still hear people. Nothing annoys me more, to the point where I just switched the channel, is when I'm watching a YouTube video about something that has nothing to do with Trump, and they bring in Trump. I was watching a mortician describing. I don't know if you saw the film when Charlie Kirk was in his coffin and his hands looked yellow, and
Yes.
there were people claiming that it was a mannequin and whatever.
Not
So
the lighting.
what?
Not the lighting.
Uh, who
That's what
knows
I
what
thought.
goes on? Well, it's part of the okay, when a person is embalmed, they generally turn yellow, and then makeup is put on their face to make them look more pink. And generally, hands are not seen. Maybe they didn't put makeup on his hands. Maybe Erica didn't want him to be made up. Jackie Kennedy refused to change her blood-soaked dress after JFK's assassination because she said, "I want the world to see what they did to him." Maybe Erica wanted the world to see what Charlie looked like as a dead body. But the did you see the recent video? The commander of ICE came out and ordered the dispersal of a crowd so a car could get through. And they ended up arresting an illegal. I don't know if he was an illegal, but he was shrieking and making animal noises, and it was very, very undignified.
Yep.
But In response to that video, a leftist posted this, and it's very interesting. It's called The Early Warnings of Fascism.
Ooh.
So it lists these things that we can go through. There's just a few. Number one, powerful and continuing nationalism. I don't think that's entirely restricted to fascism.
Yeah.
The Chinese, for example, are extremely nationalistic. The Russians are very nationalistic.
Well, not the best examples, but every European country, whether under fascism or not, has always been entirely tribal and nationalistic.
True, true. Okay, disdain for human rights. Again, that's more of a leftist thing than it is. It applies to fascism, but it also applies to the current,
Communism.
and also the people who supported the murder of Charlie Kirk. Those
Absolutely.
are Americans. Those are American
Yeah.
leftists.
How about the social democrats in Europe that came out with the digital act?
Exactly. Where, if you don't toe the line, you're not going to be able to access your own money or fill your car up with gas.
Bingo.
Okay, identification of enemies as scapegoats to use as a unifying cause. Holy shit, that's all we're seeing from the American left. That's
what you've seen from Bosich in Chile, from Castro, and now Diaz-Canel in Cuba, from the communists, the socialists. This is, and come to think of it, nearly 90% of governments in the history of the world have done the same shit.
Yep. Supremacy of the military. That does seem to be more applied to fascism than other.
No, Russians do that too.
True. Rampant sexism. Now, American leftists are about as sexist as you could get, only it's sexism in the form of trying to castrate all males. That's what it is. It's anti-male sexism. So when they say sexism, they're talking about women. But if you look at,
and as they're talking about women, they are allowing rapists into women's locker rooms.
That's another thing.
And if you oppose it, you're a fascist.
So American leftists are sexist against both genders. Controlled mass media, extremely leftist, to the point where the Biden administration had an office that would contact, it was the Obama and the Biden administration would contact Twitter and tell them, ban this guy, ban this guy, ban this guy. They would send out.
And Facebook and YouTube and Alphabet, they would literally order Alphabet to deliver the browsing history of people.
Yep.
And
uh-huh.
Were Biden or Obama fascist dictators? Well, come to think of it, yes.
Yeah.
But they're not the uber right, are they?
Obsession with national security. Internal national security, entirely leftist. Ministry of the Interior sent out to, stomp down any political opposition.
Yes.
Okay, here's one that this doesn't apply to anybody really. Religion and government are intertwined. Fascists are a lot of things, but they're not religious.
Number one, yes and no. They could be in some occasions for populist reasons. Mussolini embraced the church, married in a church, and all of a sudden became uber Catholic because he realized that the Italian people, being themselves uber Catholics, were not going to follow him and would in fact become a hindrance. Either you had the Vatican with you or you were screwed. So he switch. The thing is that while personally he didn't give a shit one way or the other, in practice, okay, so I need to carry a cross to do this? Well, why the hell not?
Well, also the church in Italy. Okay, number one, the Mussolini's government didn't take its marching orders from the church, and the church in Italy,
True.
they didn't have bishops going to confer with Mussolini. He used the church, like you
Yep.
said, in order to get support.
And, and through them a bone in exchange. We call it the Vatican today.
Yep.
Eh,
Okay, another one.
But he didn't take orders
No.
from the Pope at all.
Okay.
And the thing too is, does that apply to Al Sharpton? You know, this mixing religion and politics.
Well, okay. Leftist churches are violating the law against, not the law. They're violating their status as nonprofits by engaging in politics on a
And the law. Unitarian, Universalist, Methodist churches, they all are sanctuary for illegals, and in doing so, they're violating the law as well.
True. Okay. Here's another one.
And they're doing it from the so-called left.
Right. Here's another one. Corporate power is protected. Obama administration, Biden administration. You think corporate power was not protected? Come on.
Define corporate, because these sons of bitches always conflate a fascist corporation with a private enterprise, which in America happens to be called a corporation as well.
Yeah. But this early warning signs of fascism is directed at the Trump administration. Essentially, the Trump administration wants the government out of corporations. So they're not protecting them so much as getting out of the fray.
And destroying the fascist corporations that the Democrats built over 80 years.
Here's another one where this person doesn't know what fascism is. It says labor power is suppressed. No, labor power and the corporations are intertwined with the government. Yes. So that's fascism.
That's the fascist corporation is the unholy association of labor, industry, and the government.
Yeah.
Setting rules in self-governing or self-regulating agencies with participation from these three. The clearest example of fascist corporation in the U.S. today is the Department of Labor and the National Labor Board.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is more fascist than that.
Also,
the fascist corporation is the association of the AFL-CIO and the SEIU with the Democrats in government. That's a fascist corporation.
Also, the Nazis, the official name of the party was the National Socialist German Workers' Party.
Correct.
Let's see. Next one, disdain for intellectuals and the arts. Do you see American leftists having holding up intellectualism as a great benefit to this country? No.
No, they turned every museum into shit. They promote in their art galleries utilitarian art, just like the Stalinists.
Yeah.
And any artist or actor or musician who doesn't toe the line of the party gets banned into oblivion.
Well, leftists do what the Nazis did, and they essentially label art that doesn't toe the line, they label it degenerate art. So, say a kid wearing a Trump portrait on his shirt to school, that is not allowed, and the kid has to take off his shirt or be sent home because he's wearing offensive, degenerate art.
Yes, like a T-shirt with the American flag on it.
Exactly. Okay, here's another one: obsession with crime and punishment. Please, that's one of the definitions of leftism. Punishment is a defining characteristic of leftism, and also creating crimes out of dissent.
Yep. Oh, don't worry. That's an alarm that I have to check on some things.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. Eh, yeah, they do that. I mean, the people who persecuted regular folk for strolling around the Capitol building. I'm not talking about those who went in or destroyed property. I'm talking about those who were strolling on the green outside in an area that was declared closed days after they left, and manufacture a crime to fit the profile of who they wanted to be criminals and jail thousands of people. They
Well,
are the ones who are. I'm not obsessed with crime and punishment, but I do believe that punishment has to fit the crime,
well,
and that crime has to be contained.
there has to be a crime.
I'm sorry.
There has to be a crime. It's
Yeah, well,
the
well
Biden,
defined a priori.
Biden administration spent 4 years hunting down people who were just standing outside, and
Yeah,
Okay, here's we only got two more, so the next to last is rampant cronyism and corruption, another defining characteristic of leftism.
ooh. You mean like that we have a girl who succeeded her father in the satrapy of the seventh district in Arizona?
Sure.
That type of cronyism?
Or the Obama, what were they? The green companies where they all failed and all of the CEOs got golden parachutes of
Oh
tens of
yes,
millions.
like Solindra,
Yep.
a half a fucking billion
Yep.
into the hands of a fundraiser for Obama. That's not cronyism. And
And,
Solindra too, by the way, 15 billion went into a solar panel big thing in the Mojave that was almost built, it almost produced, it almost anything, and it died a natural death uh, less than a month ago, with the taxpayers losing 15 billion and a shit ton of toxic material that is going to be on the Mojave until we spend a few billion picking it up.
yep.
And that went all to friends of Obama.
Right, here's the last one, which is very, very funny. Defining a warning sign of fascism: fraudulent elections.
No, well, that's it. That sounds like a confession to me.
Exactly. No, this is a leftist who can't define fascism and who is seeing his own reflection everywhere he looks, but he just doesn't know it. He doesn't know
No.
that he's seeing himself in the mirror.
Yeah, or he mixes things because let's face it, fraudulent elections are not a characteristic or a singular characteristic of fascism.
No, no.
It is a singular characteristic of corrupt polities anywhere around the world.
Mhm.
Some are socialist, some are communist, some are fascist, some are theocracies. It is not a characteristic of fascism, it's a characteristic of corruption. Fascism is none of the above.
No.
You and I were discussing how when my father first explained fascism to me, he was complaining about Hollywood and all the Hollywood movies that always showed fascists and Nazis as the guy who steps on the glasses of the short-sighted and break the white canes of the blind and kick the paraplegic because they're so evil. And my father said, they don't do this because they're fascists or Nazis. They do this because they're assholes. And you're going to find assholes professing every sort of ideology around the world. Fascists and Nazis are people like the rest of us. Some are assholes, to be sure. Some are loving husbands and good neighbors. What defines them as fascists is not their personal attitude towards individuals, but they're embracing a philosophy of the state that puts the activities of everybody under the jurisdiction of the state. For a fascist, production in all of its forms, it's a social uh, concern.
Mhm.
And the communists were wrong. We don't need to expropriate the factories and possess the means of production because, generally speaking, bureaucrats don't know how the fuck to make a widget.
Mhm.
In order to do this, we have to let the people who do widgets or who make widgets continue to make widgets in the fascist state. But we need to regulate how much they pay their employees, how much they can charge for a widget, how many widgets they can make on any given year. Because it's not a question of wasting resources in unneeded widgets. Of course, markets regulate this a hell of a lot better than a fascist bureaucrat. But for a fascist, there's got to be some kind of minister of production and or minister of industry who puts together workers, industrialists, and the state and comes out with collective bargains, which Mussolini called paritarias. He's the one who invented this fund. Collective bargain agreements that established all of the parameters of production, and then within those parameters, people can act. What defines fascism is the control of the economy and through the economy of the life of society through regulation. Do you know anybody in the US who's been doing that?
Yeah, the Democrats.
Oh my, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, the definition of fascism is putting the state ahead of everything. Everything is subservient to the state, which
Yes.
is entirely antithetical to conservatism.
Oh
So
yes.
today, the left is attacking Stephen Miller, calling him a fascist, trying to get him killed. And
Yeah.
okay, they've gone beyond poking the bear. They're stabbing the bear. And okay, the first arrests of Antifa on terrorism charges have been made. And I saw somebody say, "Oh, Antifa is bringing in reinforcements." Well, okay, that's fine. Does Antifa have tanks? Does Antifa have shoulder fired rockets? Antifa up against the National Guard and ICE. ICE has a special operations unit. Um,
Hmm.
so
Did
the,
you're gonna know this? Did the Sturmabteilung have shoulder fire missiles?
no,
Did they have any weapon of war at all?
no, they were brawlers.
Antifa.
Yeah, yeah. And one night, Hitler murdered all the commanders, and the brawlers who said they weren't going to submit to anybody were told submit or die, and so they joined they joined Hitler's party, and that was the end of the Sturmabteilung. It ceased to exist in one night. So,
as will Antifa once they have fulfilled their service.
well, exactly. Once their funding is cut off, they're screwed, and their funding is getting cut off because the crowds they're creating are smaller than ever, and you know we're
and USAID is no more.
Yeah. No, people like Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom has crossed over into being objectively evil, and Gavin Newsom. I don't think Gavin Newsom hopes that Republican political leaders are killed. He just doesn't care, and
He just doesn't think. But Gavin Newsom is instinctively, he obviously has no brains to do this intellectually.
no,
You mentioned something a moment ago about the nature of fascism. One of the most infamous phrases of Mussolini is within the state, everything.
yeah,
Outside the state, nothing.
mhm,
That's what Gavin Newsom does.
mhm,
He doesn't know what it is. He is, in Italian, you would say fascista inconsciente. He is a fascist and he doesn't even know he is a fascist.
mhm.
We have a lot of those around.
Oh yeah, the person who posted that list of warnings is a leftist, which makes him a fascist. An American leftist is, objectively speaking, a fascist, and they don't know it because they don't know what the word actually means.
No,
It's
the retards, some of these retards call themselves progressives,
yeah.
which has a sense of pride. Hillary
Well,
Clinton, I am a progressive. Progressive was the party of George Wallace, was the fascist party in America established in 1948.
I saw a video of leftists surrounding an ICE car, and they were chanting. I didn't know they did this. They were patting the car with their little hands, and they were doing the call and response where the Führer would say, "We believe that we will win," and then the whole crowd would go, "We believe that we will win." And so they did this.
Palestine.
Yeah. So they did this. They believed that they will win until ICE came out with the sting balls and the flashbangs and chased them away, and that was it. And you know, all they can do is spew profanity like a senile sailor, and they see everything they're doing is entirely useless and fruitless. They're yelling at the ICE agents, "What's your name? What's your badge number?" And it's like, it's been established that you're not going to know their name. You're not going to know their badge number.
Until your trial.
And what?
Until your trial. In your trial, you will be allowed to confront your accuser.
Yeah. No, it's
But not before and not publicly.
no. No, and it's possible that the trial, that part of the trial, will be held in camera. They've done that before to protect the identity of the witness.
Yes.
So American leftism is all about fruitlessness, just pushing ahead with this. It's like these drunk driver arrests where they're trying everything under the sun. There was this legendary case where they arrested this young woman for drunk driver. She tried everything. She was a Native American who had white anxiety. She had PTSD. She couldn't stand to be touched by men. She'd been molested. You know, it was just like every excuse under the sun was spooling out, and they were just going, "That's nice. Here, turn around, put your hands behind your back." Um,
By the
she was
way,
a 350 pounder.
I have such admiration for our law enforcement agents. I
Oh
In
yeah,
any other country in the world
yeah,
would be picking up the corpses with earth movers, the
yeah,
way these people behave.
yeah.
And our law, there's always one who loses it every now and then. But 99.9% of them just patiently go through the motions, put up with abuse, and protect these imbeciles in a manner that they're certainly not entitled to.
Every year, there's about 375 million interactions between local and federal law enforcement. And of those interactions, generally speaking, a low triple digit number of them are questionable out of 375 million. So it's a 0.000 etc. Percentage. And one of the comments on this ICE video was, why did it take so many agents to cuff that guy? This is like I'm tired of answering this. You see this all the time. Because they have to cuff him, they have to do it in a way that won't injure him.
Yep.
If they wanted to, what they could do is they could box his ears and they could rupture his eardrums, and then he'd cooperate. But
Or just force the arm back and dislocate the shoulder. Fuck it.
exactly. No, they have to do it in such a way that they don't injure the person. And this isn't a game of machismo versus machismo. You know, they're operating under rules of engagement. And if you don't want them to operate under rules of engagement, then God help you when if you are accidentally mistaken for somebody that they're trying to arrest, because then you're the guy who ends up with his jaw over here and his arm like that. So, and like you said, in other countries, have you ever seen the Indians warning people off the streets? They give their cops a 6-foot pole and they just start smashing them in the ass, and you think, oh, they're getting hit in the butt. It cuts through the skin and it leaves this huge welt.
Yep. And by the way, they don't always hit the ass.
No, they don't always hit the ass.
The lower back, the shoulders, the neck.
Yeah.
Wherever it lands, it lands.
Yeah. No.
And that is still nothing compared to what I've seen. There was a point in Argentina where the highest number of dead occurred in Buenos Aires province by law enforcement. They used to literally shoot people at traffic stops in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Over 600 per year at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not under a dictatorship. No. That was one of the regular years. In Brazil, don't argue with a cop.
No.
He'll shoot you.
More likely than not, he's going to be a military police officer who's doing street patrols. And like you said, those guys, they don't say, police, raise your hands. They pull their gun and shoot you.
Yeah. And one could argue whether it's necessary or not. I don't think it is to that extreme. I don't think we need to be so constrained at all. I think that a dislocated shoulder every now and then would go a long way to people not acting like 4-year-olds having a tantrum. I saw a video today of police trying to constrain a very large individual with a very deep voice who was berating them, and a woman off camera, leave him alone, he's a kid. I said, he's a kid, god damn it. He- He's kid from a race of giants or something. The two cops were trying to hold him and put his hands towards his back so they could cap him. He was able throughout the film to pull both of the cops forward,
Mm-hmm.
each with a single arm,
Mm-hmm.
without budging an inch.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the kid. Poor darling. I think that
Regardless,
cops should be able, and I can think of at least 5 or 6 ways they could have taken this asshole to the ground and got him before he knew what hit him. They should be
well,
able to do that. They're risking their lives.
of course, regardless of what somebody does, when a criminal pulls a gun and gets shot, if the cops are chasing this guy through a neighborhood, the people will reflexively come out and start screaming at the cops.
Yeah.
That's how it is. It's a ritual. It's a reflex. There's no thinking involved. And
But it's trainable. People are like that because for years they've been taught that way. The same way that the purpose for living of a Palestinian is to kill a Jew, because ever since they were born they were told that.
yeah.
People react to their training from infancy. I like what Brevard County, Florida is doing. It's one of my favorite counties, Cocoa Beach, uh, 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 Port Canaveral, Titusville, that's all Brevard County. In Brevard County, the sheriff said something like, if you run away from us, you're going to go to jail, tired, because we're going to catch up with you, we're going to throw you in jail. If you spit on us, you're going to go to the hospital first and then to jail. If you throw a Molotov cocktail, pull a gun on us, or throw a stone at us, we're going to notify your family where they can pick up the corpse. Because we're going to kill you cemetery dead. And the sheriff is, to me, stating the obvious.
Yeah. And
he's actually making an effort to reduce the violence of encounters.
of course.
When you encounter the cops, just be quiet, for fuck's sake. If you have anything to argue it before the judge.
Yeah.
File a case against the cop, argue with the judge. You have nothing to argue with the arresting cop.
Well,
they're just doing their job.
You mentioned the Palestinians. I was, talking about people's interaction with the cops. They don't know how to behave because they don't know anything. Their brains don't work, and they think they can get away with stuff. I saw an Israeli or an American Jewish woman talking about Charlie Kirk. She was saying that he felt that Israel's PR was abysmal. Okay, Israel could have the greatest PR in the world, and they'd still get the same reaction. Nobody who hates Israel is going to change their mind based on anything Israel says.
And the fascist press in the U.S., it's not going to change their tune either.
Right. When in 2014, when the operation, I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, after it ended, 2,200 Palestinian civilians were killed. And I started investigating, and I found that an extremely large number of Palestinians were killed by Hamas and Palestinian Jihad missiles that landed on them.
Right back where they started, yeah.
Yep. And the Israelis pointed that out, and nobody believed them. The Israelis also pointed out that over 3,000 buildings had IEDs built into them, and they were detonated, bringing the buildings down on the inhabitants. Nobody believed the Israelis. I eventually counted all the munitions, and it's possible. I counted all the munitions that the Israelis fired, and I counted all the rockets that fell back into Gaza, and it didn't matter. People who hate Israel because they hate Jews aren't going to believe anything the Israelis say. They're not even going to hear it. So the notion that you criticize the Israelis, I don't criticize the Israelis really for anything that I could think of. The only thing I criticize them for is for giving people chances when they don't deserve it, and being too, what's the word? I don't want to say weak, because they're definitely not weak, but needing something like October 6th, October 7th, to get them to finally admit that they had a little enclave of animals living next door to them.
Mm-hmm.
That they were constantly, and again, I don't want to say making excuses for the Palestinians, but they were going into their relationship with the Palestinians as if the Palestinians and the Israelis wanted the same thing. And October 7th was bound to happen because Hamas had been saying from the beginning, it's in their charter, kill all the Jews. And, there's
the president of the Palestinian Authority is one of the terrorists who financed and organized the massacre in Munich in '72. What the fuck do you have to discuss with him?
Well, exactly. And the Israelis would be, Jewish people who would say things like, when somebody says they're going to kill you, believe them, but then they wouldn't believe them. And
or sometimes, the preoccupation of many Israelis for keeping the support of Europe and the US and not doing anything that would jeopardize it. And then, of course, you have people like Biden, who actually did place an embargo of arms to Israel. He didn't talk about it, he didn't threaten about it. He actually did put in place an embargo of arms to Israel. Or Obama, remember, who, when Israel was under attack with literally thousands of rockets fired at Israel from Gaza and Lebanon, Obama prohibited the replenishment of the Iron Dome. Now, there's nothing conceived as a defensive weapon like the Iron Dome. And when Obama refused to replenish the missiles of the Iron Dome, it was essentially condemning Israeli communities to receiving fire from Gaza on a daily basis.
Of course. This is why
my criticism of Israel is, after October 7, you should have gone in there full force, not give a shit to anybody. In 3 weeks, have this thing resolved. And, eventually people are going to come down. But you're not going to have this problem anymore.
Well, as soon as the war is over, everybody's going to forget about the Palestinians. Hamas will be gone, and that's it. This is why I admire the Saudis. The Saudis do not give a rat's ass about world opinion. And the Israelis need to take a leaf out of the Saudi book and not give a rat's ass about world opinion. For real. And I had a discussion with an observant Jewish guy, and he told me that part of their religion said that they have to give people endless chances and they have to care about what everybody thinks about them. But the Saudis...
And by the way, it is true, it is in the Torah, but it's not the whole truth. You know how you have to tell the truth? The whole truth and nothing but the truth? Yes, it is in the Torah. Every life is sacred, and you have to protect life no matter whose, including your enemies. But not at the risk of your own. But not at the risk of your cousins or your brother or your neighbor. Protecting the life of Israel is a mitzvah that takes precedence.
Yeah.
So do what you need to do to get rid of the existential threat to Israel. Everything else is forgiven. Thank you very much.
Well, also, you hear people say Christians shouldn't be cafeteria Christians who take only what they want from the religion.
Yep.
All Christians do that. If you look at the book of Deuteronomy, it says you need to kill people who have tattoos.
Oh, Deuteronomy 13.
It says you need to kill people who disobey their parents.
Yes.
So
and people who worship another god.
And people who worship another god.
And if those people who worship another god are your relatives, you have to kill them with your own hands.
If a menstruating woman goes to church, you have to kill her.
Yeah. And that's, by the way, the part of Deuteronomy. If thine eyes offend them, pluck them off.
Yeah. So everybody is a cafeteria Christian because none of us, not even the most Christian among us, believe that people with tattoos should be killed. I'll bet that the most religious Christians in this country have tattoos themselves.
Oh, yeah.
So,
including headsets.
Yeah. So the Israelis, it's time for them to start ignoring parts of the Torah and do what the Saudis did. Don't make a big deal out of it. Just say, the Quran needs to be updated for a 21st century society. And that came and went. They just announced that they're going to edit the Quran. I mean, the Islamic Reformation is here. It's happening. Yep. And nobody saw it coming. Nobody noticed it. Nobody talks about it today, and yet it's happening. So the Israelis, I have no criticisms about the way they're fighting. I have no criticism about their PR because I know that I heard a reporter say, "Oh, they squandered the goodwill they had after October 7th." They didn't have any goodwill. They had people mouthing shit, but
assholes were celebrating on the streets of New York and Paris.
Of course.
What goodwill?
And behind closed doors, every government in the world except for Trump, they were all saying, "Well, they brought it on themselves." So we can't delude ourselves. There's nothing the Israelis can do or say to make the world accept them. So they need to accept that and move forward accordingly. I've said it for a long time. When people do and say a certain thing, you no longer have to worry about them. You write them off. I've written off so many people, even in my family. And I have no regrets.
Welcome to the club. Actually, I sleep better now.
You what?
I sleep better now.
Yeah.
I still every now and then, in 2017 it was almost every night. Now it's maybe once a week that I still have problems. But among other things, I got rid of toxic people, including family members.
Yeah.
And that has been a boon to my peace of mind. I strongly recommend it.
Yeah, and certain people are toxic 100% of the time. They wake up and the first thing they do is they start being toxic. They're not likable in any way, shape, or form. There's nothing they do that makes them personable. And these are not people. I've heard more and more conservatives say, I'm no longer going to try and reach out to leftists. It's like, good, good. I gave that up years ago.
About fucking time, because
Yeah.
reaching out to leftists is like jacking off a corpse.
No,
Except that with the corpse, you may actually have results yet.
even when Gore Vidal was young, he was a vicious man who
Oh, even
absolutely
worse.
refused to even listen to a conservative.
Yeah, how
And
about Noam Chomsky?
exactly. No, this is why William F. Buckley threatened to punch Vidal in the nose on the air.
Yes. By the way, I say it every time you mention him. I miss Bill Buckley. I do miss the son of a bitch. He was the only voice of reason in the 40 years I've been watching American TV. The only voice of reason was Bill Buckley.
Well, the thing that's happening is that you have these transparent bad faith arguments being made by the leftists, and then they demand that you take them seriously. And it's like, okay, you're everything coming out of your mouth is a fallacious. It's a logical fallacy,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I won't take you seriously because you're not being serious. Um, this argument the left continues to make that Charlie Kirk's murderer was MAGA. Like, they're just lying. And why should I waste my time arguing? It's not gonna. If somebody asks me, was he MAGA? I'll say, of course not. Of course not.
No.
He was an Antifa trans loving furry. He was about as leftist as you could get.
And they will tell you that his parents are right wing conservatives. Oh, right. Because a 21-year-old uh, betting a very trans gay partner is not showing any kind of rebellion towards his conservative parents, right?
Well, on the one hand, they say that you can't judge the actions of person of leftist A by their family, and then on the other hand, they say you have to judge the actions of leftist B by their family, and the family didn't pull the trigger. The guy did, and he confessed to it, and he explained why he did it. Um, and he even said that Charlie Kirk deserved to be murdered because of what he said.
Yeah.
So he was as leftist as they come. He
Oh,
was as
like the other MAGA guy who shot the kids in Plantation, Florida, eh, with a Che Guevara T-shirt.
mm,
Because as you know, all fascist conservatives, MAGA people wear Che Guevara T-shirts.
yeah.
It's I don't know what they think they can accomplish by doing this type of thing. It's getting worse. They're lying about everything.
Yeah. They just
It,
said
it,
documents released showing that Elon Musk was planning to go to Epstein Island or had been to Epstein Island. That's a complete fabrication.
yes, no, because they have to release the documents, but the documents released say, have the documents been released or not? If not, what the fuck are you coming? are you bringing this up from? If so, why are you asking for the documents to be released? It, there's been a shit ton of lying about that. They are lying about even well-known facts.
Yeah, yeah.
And another one, uh, General Flynn lied about talking to the Russian ambassador. No, he didn't.
No, he gave an interview where he admitted it, and that was why he got in trouble.
And he actually, from the first moment, demanded that the transcript be released because he claimed that the transcript would prove that he did nothing wrong, as indeed he did nothing fucking wrong. But according to the libtards today, he lied about that, man. Amazing, isn't it?
Well, they're still claiming that Trump said that among the Nazis at wherever the fuck Charlottesville, there were some very nice, very fine people.
Yeah.
You know, or no, the lie
Yeah,
is
no,
that
the lie is that there were very fine people among the folks in Charlottesville, which of course he wasn't referring, because he goes on and says, except for those.
exactly, which is the part they cut out.
And this is the part they're lying about.
Well, see,
and indeed, there were very fine people. There were very good people in Charlottesville that day.
yeah,
It just didn't happen to be the fucking fascists.
no, and
the fascists were led by an asshole from Alexandria, Virginia, who campaigned for Hillary and for Biden and gave interviews telling everybody what a fine Democrat he was.
yeah,
You know, the guys with the tiki torches?
yeah. No, and think about it. That was a march, and that happened, what, 2016, 2017?
That was 2017.
Yeah. So they're still holding on to it as if it happened
Yeah.
5 hours ago.
And they're still lying about it like fucking crazy. They're still lying about how many police officers died
Mhm.
in
On
the
January
Capitol
6th.
on
Yep.
January 6th. The answer, by the way, is not fucking one. A little earlier, 2 died shot in the rotunda by a lefty crazy fuck.
Mhm.
But on January 6th, not one. There was one cop who died the following day at home of a stroke that was in no way related to anything that happened on January 6th. Although perhaps, you know, if this pressure broke it, but not directly. They're, they were lying until yesterday about the 240 FBI agents,
274.
274 that mingled in with the crowd into the Capitol. 274. How many people actually got into the Capitol? 1,000?
Oh, I think it
I'm not
was,
talking about outside. I'm talking inside.
yeah, it was about 800.
So about 1 in 4 were FBI agents. What a fucking insurrection, man!
Yeah. That's one thing they don't do
You're
anymore.
supposed to listen to this shit and not crack up laughing.
They don't call it an they just say January 6th now. They're too embarrassed to call it an insurrection because they've been mocked into oblivion by saying,
Come on. Pelosi called it an armed insurrection. How many weapons were there? None.
Yeah.
The only weapon fired was that of the Capitol Police officer who shot
Ashley Babbitt.
Ashley Babbitt. And we can argue until the cows come home. I do still believe it was an unlucky shot. Nobody aims for the neck. Period. End of story.
No.
And we can argue until the cows come home if this is a son of a bitch or if he was doing his work. I admit all kind of discussions as long as they are properly argued. But that was
Well,
the only shot fired, for crying out fucking loud. What kind of armed insurrection was this?
and
And
also,
now we know 1 in 4 of the insurrects were FBI agents undercover.
uh, uh, Ashley Babbitt was wearing a backpack. She refused to stop, and Vice President Pence was right around the corner. So he did what he thought was best. He obviously didn't want to kill anyone. He did himself no favors by giving an interview afterwards.
Nope.
But it was just one of those situations where a person with extremely hard, extremely a person with very strong beliefs thought she was doing something right, and a person who had the duty to stop suicide bombers from coming in felt he had no choice but to shoot. And that's what happened. He
There are, a
warned
lot of
me.
people, there are a lot of people very upset with me for holding that very point.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I mean, I just.
you and I watched the videos on screen in one show at the time, and frankly, people will say she didn't deserve to die. I believe so. I don't think she deserved to die.
No, of course not. But
But she unfortunately put herself in danger by doing this when she refused to stop and
after
tried to
being
go through the
warned
broken glass multiple times and tried to go through the broken glass in that door into an area where the vice president was carrying a fucking backpack. Nobody knew what. For all I know, it could have been nothing but dirty underwear inside. But you don't know. So if that cop didn't fire, some other one would have. And if she had made it to the other side, then the Secret Service, and I spoke with 2 Secret Service agents that were there, would have shot her and probably 3 or 4 more people behind her.
well, they had submachine guns, and they would have saturated whoever was coming down the hall with bullets. And okay, the video of Ashley Babbitt, she was going through the window extremely fast. She wasn't slowly climbing through the window to show that she posed no threat. She was smashing her way through and going through that window extremely fast. And these things happen. In the Israeli rescue in Mogadishu, they killed, I think, Israelis killed 2 hostages because they stood up and moved quickly during the shooting of the terrorists.
Yes.
I believe there have been other cases of hijacked airlines where a passenger. When the Dutch rescued the hostages in the train taken by the Moluccans, they made a they used a scope that showed body heat, and they saw that the passengers always stayed in one side of the car, one side of the train, and the terrorists were in another part. And what they didn't know was the night that they opened fire, there was a passenger sleeping in the baggage. This was 1977, so the equipment they were using was relatively rudimentary. Yep. And they didn't know that there was a passenger sleeping in the luggage rack above. And the plan was to fire at a certain height to get the passengers to lie down and then to kill the terrorists by firing through the side of the train, and they did kill one hostage. And when there are guns involved, and when there's fear involved, and when there's training involved, and when there's
there's a split-second decision to make,
yeah, it's these things happen, and
unfortunately, she put herself in that situation. She didn't have to enter the Capitol building. She didn't have to break glasses. She didn't have to go through doors in spite of the wordings of cops on both sides of the door.
well, I mean, those people who went in the Capitol building were idiots. They were idiots. What did they think they were going to accomplish?
Or now we know, or FBI agents.
Or FBI agents. Idiot FBI agents. I have no idea what they thought they were going to accomplish. A hell of a lot of them were believers in QAnon.
Oh yeah.
So it was a mess. The whole thing was a mess, and it was also a trap. It was anticipated by Nancy Pelosi. She figured. I'm sure the FBI was mingling with the crowd, and they were talking about storming the building, and they were radioing back that the plan was to go in the building, and so that's why Pelosi refused the National Guard and everything.
Yeah.
So they were set up.
Pelosi refused the National Guard long before this.
Yeah.
They gave permits to demonstrate on the Capitol grounds, which they later claimed was a closed-off area. It wasn't.
No.
To the fucking Oath Keepers. What could go wrong?
Yeah. No, it was a setup.
They told over 1,000 Capitol Police to stay home.
Yeah. Well, also remember
they didn't follow the plans.
Remember that on one side of the Capitol building, the cops opened the doors and took away the barricades and invited people in.
Yes.
And on the other side, they battered the side where Ashley Babbitt died. They battered the demonstrators battered their way in. And
yes, in some cases they were climbing windows, clad in black like Antifa.
Yeah. No, I mean, the whole thing was stupid.
It was a shit show.
It was a stupid thing to do, and we did get Biden, but as a result of that, we're seeing the demise of the Democratic Party. So, Americans, one of the things that characterizes American society is every now and then we walk right up to the edge of the abyss and we lean as far out over as we can, and we contemplate it, and then we say, "Meh, I don't want to go down there."
No.
But we always do that. We always do that.
And sometimes it's so fucking obvious. T-Lady is thanking you for stating that J6 was a trap. On January 5th, in the Quad Meet, I told folks not to go to Washington.
Yeah, I remember that.
I told them it was a trap. I told them it smelled like shit. By now, Pelosi had denied the National Guard. There were National Guard already in Washington, but they weren't allowed anywhere near the Capitol building. I knew there was no preparation to keep the crowd within bounds. On January 6th, I came out on screen with a special VIP room, and I told people, if you're there, get the fuck out. I told you shouldn't go. This is a trap. I didn't have any inside information.
No,
it
of course
was as plain as the ugliness in Murkowski's face.
Mm-hmm.
And then we spent like 4 years arguing about it. This is fucking ridiculous.
Didn't it? Was that isn't that what caused Trump's second impeachment, January 6th? Yeah, see, nobody remembers or gives a shit about Trump's impeachments because they know that they were fake.
Yeah, they actually tried to impeach Trump on his way out on this one.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say try, is because they never got it past the Senate, as we knew they wouldn't. So the impeachment died in the Senate. They didn't impeach Trump. They tried and failed. This is an important distinction because the Democrats want to exploit this like we impeached them. No, you didn't. You wasted time and resources on the most ridiculous show of kabuki in the history of our legislature.
Well, and now the whole concept of impeachment has lost all its meaning. It doesn't matter. Nobody on the left in the press or even the Democratic Party refers to Trump as a twice impeached president. They don't, because they know it doesn't.
Except for Pelosi. But that's because she's gaga.
I haven't heard her speak in months, maybe a year. I don't know.
She came out of hiding a couple of times this month. But oh my God, if you thought she was insufferable before, age doesn't suit her.
Well, I saw a clip of her going, it's like, oh boy, Nancy, time to retire. Yeah, exactly. She does that a lot.
Isn't that elegance personified?
Oh, yeah.
Jesus. I get chills thinking about that Harry Dent.
This is why her husband dates homeless men.
I'm not going to say this. The poor man got a hammer in the head courtesy of another leftard. They don't say that anymore. But God, if I were married to Pelosi, I think I'd be gay by now.
Okay, I saw the body cam video. The cops opened the door. Pelosi was sitting there holding the hammer down before he'd been hit. And the cop said, let go of the hammer. So he said, if I let go of the hammer, he's going to hit me. And the cop said, let go of the hammer. So he let go of the hammer, and the guy immediately hit him. What you do in that case is you go in there, you expose yourself to a little danger, and you wrestle that guy to the floor and handcuff him. You don't tell Paul Pelosi to let go of the hammer. It's I don't know.
This is San Francisco, man.
Exactly.
Regular laws do not apply. Not even the laws of physics apply.
Yeah. No, we've got our first lesbian police chief. Well, the city's burning down. How'd that work out?
Well, did you have that problem in Los Angeles with the fire department?
Yeah.
No. It's too much. It's too much. But this is the world upside down that we're talking about. How can you be surprised? How can you be not even appalled anymore? And as it's beginning to lose its entertainment quality. Let me show you a couple of things that I swear to God, as early as a year ago. No. I saw this coming a little bit longer. But until recently, I never thought that we were going to find the president of a South American shithole doing this in the streets of New York. And you probably already know what I'm talking about. But look at this fuckface. And I have two videos and then one notification. Go.
Las naciones del mundo entonces aportarán hombres y mujeres entrenados y armados para configurar ese gran ejército.
By the way, he doesn't even know how to speak Spanish.
Okay, hold on. Can you, before you start it again?
Yes.
On the far right, that's Roger Waters of Pink Floyd.
Yes. Yes. The anti-Semitic little shit who happens to be in support of this M19 anti-Semitic piece of crap. And the guy who's gonna pick up, the guy who's gonna pick up the megaphone now is a translator, which is gonna make you laugh. But when I say he doesn't even speak Spanish properly, it is las naciones del mundo aportará X. No, aportarán is a plural. It's okay.
Isn't he a native speaker of Spanish?
He's a native speaker of nothing. The son of a bitch who, by the way, I'm surprised his nose is holding.
The people and the nation should be involved to create this great army.
Did you hear that?
No, he was totally unintelligible to me.
That's a translation. He is totally. He's saying that the countries of the world should contribute men and women to create this great popular army.
Tiene que ser más grande que el de los Estados Unidos.
It's got to be bigger than the army of the United States.
Por eso, desde aquí, desde Nueva York, le pido a todos los soldados.
And that is why, from here, from New York, I ask all the soldiers in the U.S. Army
no apuntar contra la humanidad,
that they not point their rifles to humanity.
Fusiles.
Then I ask from New York, I ask to all the soldiers of the USA Army, don't put your hands against the people, not against the humanity.
Desobedezcan la orden de Trump.
Disobey Trump's orders.
Obedezcan la orden de la humanidad.
Obey the orders from humanity.
Disobey the Trump's order. Obey the order of humanity.
Yo mismo me.
By the way, can you hear how many are there?
Yeah, it sounds like about 15.
Rodillé como cristiano.
I put my knees down like a Christian. By the way, this is an atheist Marxist guerrilla commander.
Mm-hmm.
But he knelt as a Christian.
Ante las tumbas de miles de soldados norteamericanos que murieron en los campos de Europa luchando.
Before the tombs of thousands of American, of the graves of American soldiers who died in the fields of Europe.
Contra Hitler.
Myself, I was praying before the graveyards of the USA soldiers killing during the Second World War, fighting against the fascism.
Esos abuelos de los hoy.
Those grandparents.
Mariners y soldados.
Of today's mariners, whatever the fuck that is.
Del ejército de Estados Unidos deben dar ejemplo y comprenderlos. Ellos en una gran.
Must give an example and understand them. By the way, he's talking about the dead people.
Una alianza con pueblos de todo el mundo.
So that they can form an alliance with the peoples around the world.
Resistencias dieron y escribieron una página de heroísmo.
Who, with the resistance, they gave and wrote a page of heroism. By the way, does that make any sense to you?
No, he's saying that the Americans were heroes for defeating fascism, so he's calling on the world to embrace fascism.
Yes.
These people that was the granddaughter and grandson of the people that was killing the Second World War, writing a great page of the heroism. That's why they have to be, let's use my own words, in the correct side of the history.
Y derrotaron a Hitler y el
Holy shit, this fucker's boring.
No shit. And by the way, he makes no fucking sense. this lunacy of a humanitarian army larger than the US Army, with soldiers provided by all the countries in the world to go and free Gaza, is how this ends. This is
Well,
lunacy.
okay, let's
This
say
is
that
your
happened.
brain on drugs.
Let's say that happened, then the world would discover once and for all whether the Israelis have nuclear weapons.
They would, wouldn't they? But fortunately, for all of us, so we don't have to glow in the dark, what the fuck is this asshole talking about?
It's another fruitless, useless jibber jabber from a leftist. That's all. He's calling for something that he knows is never going to happen, and the people are cheering something they know is never going to happen. It's a waste of time. It's childish.
Yes, it is. Hold on. Let's see if I can. Because now you have to see the consequences of this. The consequence of this within an hour was this. From the State Department, earlier today, Colombian President Petro Gustavo stood on a New York City street and urged U.S. soldiers to disobey orders and incite violence. We will revoke Petro's visa due to these reckless and incredible and incendiary actions. Within an hour, the son of a bitch was on a plane going back to Bogota, and I have the feeling he won't be coming to Disney World this year.
No, what a childish butthole. He looks like a drunk college professor. I don't get this shabby look that leftist Marxists create for themselves. It's like, I don't know. He looks like he smells, and
he does.
And he's. I mean, that thing that you played, it was agonizing, and the little translator, it was just like, just so.
Let's face it, Ayo is right, and it's exactly what I was thinking. He sounds in Spanish, and something Ayo doesn't say, but he sounds like a high schooler in the 70s.
Yeah.
Coming back from the permanent assembly to combat whatever. The translator, I warned you before, independently of his voice, he doesn't know what the fuck. One, the president of Colombia doesn't know how to speak Spanish, and the translator has the foggiest idea of English.
Yeah. No, I understood most of what the. Mm-hmm.
Most of the.
I understood what the president of Colombia was saying, but I had trouble understanding what the interpreter was saying.
It was a total fuck up, and the Pink Floyd guy with his hand on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Giving support to the translator.
Well,
what is it? His lover?
It appeared that he had both hands on his shoulder, and he was going. Yeah. No, it's all.
I want you know get your fingers out of my ass. It's not my.
Okay, I'd like to make a point here. We all agree that what this guy said was childish insanity,
stupid,
but it was, for the most part, exactly what Samantha Power said when she was a member of the Obama administration. She said that the U.S. may have to invade Israel in order to protect the Palestinians.
She said that because she said that case. But this is beyond stupid. The idea that the UN should raise an army of humanity,
mm-hmm.
with all the countries providing soldiers and weapons, to go and rescue the Palestinians, an army bigger than the army of the U.S. Oh God, I hope that we take Maduro down fast, and then we can look to Bogota.
Well, apparently Hegseth is considering airstrikes on Venezuelan cartel camps.
Mhm.
So,
The sooner the better.
yeah, no, the an army bigger than that of the United States. The Chinese army is bigger. Does that mean that they're better? Um, Imagine, okay, let's say that the world does put together a an army bigger than the United States, full of soldiers from all over the world. Number one, how are they going to communicate with each other? Um, Number two,
They cannot communicate with themselves.
with the exception of Saudi Arabia and um, Egypt and Lebanon, nobody in the world has American and Iraq. Nobody in the world has American ground vehicles. Most of the world is stuck with Russian shit or 50, 60-year-old French shit.
Or Mercedes-Benz trucks.
Yeah, exactly. Pickup trucks with a machine gun in the back. And
No, or trucks. Not 18-wheelers, but regular trucks made by Mercedes-Benz, which is the usual transport vehicle for South American armies. It's totally fucking useless. They look and feel like a bus in Mexico City.
have you seen the aircraft that's being tested now to replace the A-10 Warthog?
Yes.
It's a converted crop duster, and it's armored, and I don't know why they don't put gun pods on it. It's full of missiles, but if they were smart, they would put gun pods on it. But one of those could take care of an entire column of Mercedes trucks transporting the international humanitarian army. How the fuck are they going to land? They have no way to transport their troops to Gaza, to liberate Gaza.
Well, they can swim.
Maybe.
Yeah, of little faith.
Well, the Israelis have submarines. Nobody talks about it, but they would create a massive series of targets for the Israeli submarines if they came by sea. Wow.
That's your Mercedes truck. You see the canvas?
Yeah.
That's how protected the soldiers are.
Yeah. Okay,
That's where the soldiers go.
This thing's got a snorkel, so maybe the plan is for the humanitarian army to enter the water in the Mediterranean and just paddle all its way to Gaza.
Isn't that lovely? Oh God.
Well, okay, every time there's some kind of atrocity like the murder of Charlie Kirk, people start saying things that they know are never going to happen. The killer should be drawn and quartered in public. The killer should be guillotined in public. The killer should be run over a speed.
I can express my desires, can I not?
Well, a lot of these people are serious, and we shouldn't. No, okay, you can do whatever you want, but I don't waste my time on things that are never, ever, ever, ever going to happen.
It's not going to happen. You can only dream.
No, and this guy's running a country, and he's blathering about things that are never going to happen,
but he's not running the country.
He's not what?
He's not running Colombia. He's a fucking clown. He always was.
He's nominally in charge of
He's
Colombia.
nominally in charge, but the guy is drugged up out of his senses 24 hours a day. What you heard today is not the words of a president, it's the ravings of a drunken, drugged up moron.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Isn't it funny? We allow the Colombian president, and he has to be deported the same day. The president of Syria is a former member of Al Qaeda, and I haven't heard a single word about him causing any trouble.
No, and he gave a moderate, nothing brilliant, but appropriate discourse at the UN, considering it's the first time he does anything like this. It wasn't bad at all.
Yeah.
And he sounded better and with far more gravitas than all of these fucking clowns.
Well, for that guy to take off his combat gear and adopt a suit is a big deal.
Yeah.
And for him to meet with Trump and invite Trump to build a Trump Tower in downtown Damascus is a big deal. And, you know, I saw another article, the Christians, it's a new massive genocidal attack on the Christians in Syria. No, it isn't. It isn't. No such thing.
There is one in Nigeria, and nobody is talking about it.
Because those are black Africans. And
remember, how many times did we say they don't talk about it because they don't give a shit? They're black.
Yeah.
How about the genocide in Sudan? It's been going on forever.
Not even Christians talk about the plight of Christians in Africa.
Let's say, by the way, 100,000 Christians have been killed in their homes, in their beds in Nigeria. They're being hunted like animals by roving gangs of Boko Haram. And nobody, not the Pope, not the televangelists, not the Episcopalian bishops, gives a flying crap. But if an Israeli rocket destroys a rocket launcher of Hamas and a stone from the explosion scratches the side of a church, we never hear the end of it.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, it actually happened that way.
Oh, sure. No, I have no doubt.
For 2 weeks, they were talking about Israel's attack on the Christian church. The only reason there are Christians in some areas, like Bethlehem, it's because of Israel.
Well, of course.
The Christian population in the so-called Palestinian Authority in Transjordan increased from 7 to 40% during the Israeli occupation of Transjordan, and dropped back to 12% since. And they attack Israel for going after Christians, which they do not fucking do. Ask any Christian Lebanese who's been living in Israel as a refugee in some cases, but they don't call themselves refugees because now their children and grandchildren were born in Israel and they all have Israeli citizenship. And like so many have told me, they are Israeli now.
Mm-hmm.
But when roving bands of Islamists had Christians like game in Nigeria, not a word from these assholes. They're not serious.
Well, for some reason, I got interested in this Robert Redford movie. You know, he died recently at the age of 89. I got interested in this Robert Redford movie called Jeremiah Johnson, and in the movie, Jeremiah Johnson is a fur trapper, and he ends up giving a bunch of furs to a Flathead Indian chief, and he doesn't know that, according to Flathead custom, if somebody gives you a gift, you have to give them something of greater value in return, and if they don't accept that, then you kill them. So now he's got to accept something. And so the Blackhead chief gives Robert Redford his daughter, and they get married, and then they go off to live in the cabin. And Redford is taking care of this nonverbal kid who is a survivor of a Crow Indian massacre. And so he goes off to help the U.S. military find some settlers. And when he comes home, he finds that his wife and the kid have been murdered by the Crow Indians. So he burns down his cabin, and he devotes his life to killing Crow Indians. And eventually the Crows send brave after him, and he kills them all. So finally they build a monument to his courage and decide to leave him alone. The original script and the book said that the Crow did this simply because they were savages, and they had to change that. They had violated the Crow burial grounds, and so the Crow were getting revenge.
You have to give an excuse for the Crow.
Exactly, and the reality is that Native Americans were savages. They lived in the Stone Age, and they were the most brutal societies, the most brutal cultures that ever existed. And Hollywood lacked the guts, especially Redford, because he was a big leftist, to present them as they really were. And it's the same sort of. At that time, lest he offend Lord Churchill. Yeah, exactly. Who wasn't even an Indian; he was a faker.
Of course not. Same as Pocahontas.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody said, if white privilege is a real thing, why did a white woman pretend to be a Cherokee? But so it's the same sort of thing that there's just these excuses made, and this refusal to just present things as they are and let the cards fall where they may. Like, I know you think that everyone should watch the footage from October 7th. I haven't watched it because I don't want to.
I did.
I've read the descriptions of what was done, and that's enough for me. But I already knew that Hamas were savages because I covered all the deaths that happened in 2014, and I bought raw camera footage from Palestinian cameramen, and I discovered that these guys are savages. They murdered 4 little boys simply in order to blame their murders on the Israelis, and they almost certainly electrocuted them in order to prevent rigor mortis. And what kind of people electrocute little boys?
The same kind of people who put babies in ovens.
Exactly. I mean, these people can't be saved. They're unsalvageable.
I can see every day a shit ton of people in X, and I'm developing an allergy to X every day greater, because the logarithm sucks. All that gets spontaneously to my feed is shit from Palestinian trolls and European assholes. And in order to read people that interest me, I have to purposely go and find them. And sometimes it's not easy.
Mhm.
And my old tweets and threads are there, but they're not findable. So it's a purpose hiding of them. And ghost banning is indeed today. I got a message from somebody that was sending me a message from Pam Heller, who I don't like, but what the fuck? This is the first time I see anything from her, and it was her complaint that all of her messages were being ghost
Mhm.
banned, and it's true, and that's why I haven't seen shit from her until somebody specifically sent it to me. But what I do get is an immense number of comments from assholes. It is a lie. The Palestinians didn't bake any babies on October 7th. They didn't rape anybody.
Yeah, they just murdered them. That's all. They were gentlemen.
Not even that. And even the hostages, they didn't rape or torture hostages. No, 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 no. Even a hostage was when she was liberated, she claimed that she felt ugly because nobody would touch her.
That's a
I think that the films that these fuckers took of themselves while they were committing the most grotesque atrocities in decades, since World War II, probably since before World War II.
yeah. I think it
Things that
outdid. I think it
did the
outdid World War.
Dirlewanger Brigade.
I think it outdid World War II because of the technology they were using, such as the
Yes,
ovens and all of that.
yes. And the thing is, I do think that every TV station in the world should air this footage that people should see, because there are people in there that take the word of these opinion leaders, and they think that the Israelis are lying when they claim that these people were such barbarians. Just
Well,
show it to them. Make them have nightmares.
okay. There's a Twitter has a documentary about the death camps. It's a U.S. Army immediate post-war, um, what would you call it? Not a newsreel, but just coverage of the Nazi death camps. And this had footage I'd never seen. And you could show that to a Holocaust denier, and they'll tell you those are mannequins. Never mind that nobody has ever created such realistic mannequins. Never mind that creating tens of thousands of mannequins would be an undertaking that
It would be difficult for the U.S. economy.
well, it would require material that the U.S. had was basically rationing for the armed forces, because it would require rubber. Back then they didn't have silicone,
Yep.
but I think you could show. Okay, I saw the guy who fired at ICE and then killed himself. A cop leaked photos of his body, and he had a bolt action rifle. It was short. It looked like a Carcano. But after he killed two illegal aliens and wounded another, he held the gun up to his head and pulled the trigger. So the side of his head was gone, and it's very macabre because he dropped the rifle and then he fell and the rifle propped him up. So he was actually standing. He was dead with half his head gone, but he was propped up by the rifle. And in the comments, it was like fake AI. This is why I don't criticize Israel for their PR, because the Israelis put out the footage of October 7th, and people said fake, fake, fake. So
and actually, if you will, criticize Elon Musk for an algorithm that hides Israel's posts.
Well, see, Musk is letting. I think he left. He should have replaced the entire Google Twitter staff, but he didn't. And he kept the techies, and I'm sure they all promised that they were apolitical, and then they just went ahead and did what they've always done.
Yep. And it's time he did something about it, by the way. Somebody says here, and it's germane to what you're saying. Any thoughts about the New York City SIM server or SIM server taken down by the Secret Service? I've been showing this massive bot farms for years. So they had another one in New York. By the way, I cannot count the number of posts that I saw that referred to this bot farm as fake AI. It doesn't exist. And of course, about 50% of the shit that you see comes from these farms. Guaranteed. Including, have you noticed how many times you have the exact same fucking statement from every Democrat in Congress?
Yeah.
Within a space of 10 minutes. They're not writing these. Somebody's writing it and sending it through all the phones. They're hiring these bot farms to fortify their messaging like they did the elections.
Well, do you remember when the illegal alien Sikh truck driver tried to do a U-turn on the freeway and killed a family of 3?
Yes.
In response,
incidentally, all illegals too.
Oh, well, Godspeed. All these Indian Americans put out videos in support of this guy.
Yeah.
And they all had nearly identical wording.
Yes.
So all these people had gotten scripts.
Or it's not all these people. All of those people are fake accounts that exist only in a bot farm.
No, these were TikTok videos. These were human beings. And,
okay.
And they all said exactly the same thing. Sometimes there were little tiny changes, but these people had all been given scripts.
Yep.
And it's more futility. The guy, I mean, what the ICE is going to go, you know what, you're right. We'll let him go. He's a hardworking. They kept saying he was a hardworking man trying to feed his family. That was in every TikTok video.
Oh,
and it was
go feed your family, Bangalore, asshole.
Well, after you serve your sentence,
yeah.
No, he had no reaction to killing 3 people. He was just kind of sitting there going, So, he didn't speak English and he couldn't read road signs. So, and he had a California driver's license.
How difficult is it to find a Punjabi who doesn't speak English? Think about this for a second. The man was a Sikh. He was therefore a Punjabi, most likely a Punjabi. How many Sikh do you know? Most Sikh that I know speak English better than the average American. more or less like Hermit Dillon.
Hmm.
And this one doesn't?
Well,
Really?
he was from some like dirt village where he walked around barefoot, and they gave him a California driver's license. This is the sort of person we want driving our trucks.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And you know that we can do it so that no California truck can be driven anywhere else in the interstate system
Mm-hmm.
until California complies with the parameters of the license.
Mm-hmm.
What are we waiting for? You want Newscom's attention? Good. No California truck can transit in the interstate transit system, the Eisenhower transit system, until California CL licenses comply with national standards.
That would get his attention, wouldn't it?
I mean, there are people in the administration that have all the tools they need
Mm-hmm.
to end this bullshit tomorrow. But either A, they can't think outside the box, therefore they don't realize they have the tools, or B, they were led to believe that they have to be cautious and go slowly and try to get cooperation. All of that is bullshit. All of that
Well,
is bullshit.
I think that the overwhelming majority of people don't want to. Okay, I've told you they've been these. There've been these experiments. My favorite is you apply for something, and so you go to this office and you check in at the what do you call it? Not the secretary, whatever the hell she is, and then you sit down, and then a little chime rings, bing, and everyone in the room stands up, and the chime rings again, bing, and then they all sit down. It happens again. In this experiment, every single person who came in would start standing up when they heard the chime. And gradually, the first person who came in was in a room full of people who were all part of the experiment. And then gradually they replaced all the people who were part of the experiment with people who didn't know. And by the end of the experiment, everybody was standing up and sitting down to the sound of the chime. Nobody ever refused, and nobody ever said, "What the fuck is going on?" And that's how most people are. Even in the federal government, they have to be. Trump trusts people to make the right decision, and unfortunately, way too many people are terrified of making the right decision because they don't want to put themselves out there.
No,
So they'll just stand up and sit down when they hear the chime without knowing what the fuck it means.
true. We've seen that. But anyway, we need people who are willing to do that, and if they're not, they
Yeah,
need to go.
yeah.
Like it just happened in the with the Attorney General in the Southern District.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the Eastern District of Virginia? I believe it was. May be mistaken. They just got them put in the ass and was removed and replaced. And a week later, we have the indictment against Comey, and Comey he needs to surrender to the court, and so we get the ball rolling. By the way, 2 charges, 2 pages. This is the beginning. There's a shit
Mm-hmm.
ton more. There is a shit ton more. And for people who are worried that, oh, well, The statute of limitations is going to expire on John Brennan. For lying to Congress, it would expire at the end of this month. That is true. For a conspiracy, of which lying to Congress was but a part, it doesn't expire until September 2030.
Mhm.
So if this thing starts with Comey and then it moves into a RICO case, because after all, it was a conspiracy to unseat the president of the United States with the Russia collusion hoax, then there's a tale of a lot of people that are coming right behind Comey into the same case.
Well, also, he's going to start singing. He's not going to
Well,
go down by himself.
not immediately. Right now, he thinks he's safe. The judge is an asshole
Mhm.
whose father was a traveling companion of the communist father of Fascist Obama.
Mhm.
Nobody expects this judge to do anything other than throw Comey a cane. He might be questioned. We might end in the appeals court every other week, but eventually it's going to happen. What is this? Um, Speaking of people who cannot think outside of the box, I says when I was maybe 14, there was a set of double doors with a long line of people queued up on one of the doors with no queue on the other side. I walked past the queue and opened the other door. This apparently had never occurred to anybody in the queue. That was a valuable lesson. Yes,
Mhm.
and I can think of occasions like that. Speaking of queues and doors, my father had an appointment once at the American consulate in Buenos Aires. The American consulate in Buenos Aires back then was in downtown in a kind of regular building on the fifth floor. Uh, since it moved to a virtual fortress, uh, a little removed from downtown, but it was in this building. And when my father went there, there was this queue from the door going out and down the stairs for 2 floors of people who wanted to get a visa. When my father finally, and by the way, the Marines advised the people waiting not to knock on the door. The door will open when the next one has to come in, and in the meantime, stick your hands up your ass. A couple of people knocked, and the Marine got increasingly impatient, and the last time he screamed, "Do not knock on the door!" and closed the door. As my father got to the door, an asshole that always happens to be around, who thought that everybody was on the queue there because they had nothing better to do with their lives, went past the queue to the door, and as he was going to knock, they tried to stop him but couldn't get him in time, and he went puck puck, and the Marine from inside knocked the door with the butt of his rifle that went through the door and straight into my father's knees, or rather his right knee. And that required, by the way, some medical intervention. Do you think anybody sued? Do you think any paper came out with American consulate violates the rights of people by pushing them away from the door? No. Everybody who was there is like, I wish we could have stopped the asshole who knocked. Now apply that philosophy to what's going on at ICE facilities around the country.
Hmm.
What the fuck do these people expect is going to happen if they keep this shit up?
Well, they're going to start throwing flashbangs. These people are going to end up with hearing damage, and you know, um, I don't care.
I would actually welcome it. Just remember, folks, if you go to an ICE facility for any reason, bring earplugs.
Yeah.
Um, I hope it's more than that. I hope that at one point they are going to knock them down, arrest them.
Oh yeah. Today they made their first arrests of Antifa on charges of terrorism for blocking, for interfering with ICE.
Yeah, what's the bail for terrorism?
I don't think there's any.
Thank you. I wanted to make sure because if you go to a state court for trespassing, they're out on the street before you say trespassing.
Oh yeah.
But if they're arrested on terrorism charges, they're going to a cell,
Yeah.
uh, at least until arraignment.
Hmm.
And once arraigned, they're going to stay in the cell because there is no bail for terrorism charges. Fuck them all. I hope I see several hundred over the next couple of weeks because that will cool it down.
Well, I think Antifa, after a few more of these arrests and charges, they're going to stop coming because, like the Antifa, when Antifa was called the Black Bloc, they were all pretty fit because they were rumblers, they were street rumblers, and now Antifa is like you see all these fat women cosplaying as Antifa. They're wearing all black, but they're gigantic. They they're 350 pounders, and these people, they're not dedicated. They're not going to willingly go to a federal prison for terrorism.
Yeah. Hey, don't worry. I'm changing sides so I don't have to give the speech.
No, I saw a leftist lamenting the fact that left wingers were there losing their jobs for mocking Charlie Kirk, and he was saying that this is the new civil war. Right wingers are out to destroy lives, and it's like, honey baby, we're playing by your rules. You guys invented cancel culture. You got people fired. You got Roseanne Barr fired. So enjoy it. Our side is finally playing by your rules. So
It's your time to shine, baby.
yeah.
I never denounced, suspended, or shut up anyone in my life. I thought I always live by snitches get stitches. You should see me now, baby. I'm a collector of scandals. I don't give a flying fuck. My premise that denouncing another citizen was a no-no went out the window
Mm-hmm.
in the past 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
What they did to you, what they did to me, what they did to Roseanne, what they did to all of our friends in the past, oh, yeah, 5 years. Because they started before Trump ended his term. As a matter of fact, they did it to him. They closed the accounts of the President of the United States because they didn't like what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Did that really happen?
Well, in my case, in case people haven't heard, first I got banned. I got a lifetime ban from Twitter. I tried to go to Facebook, and as soon as they saw my name, they denied me. Then I was banned from PayPal, Western Union, and there was a third one. Then I got a call from my local bank, and they asked me to come down, and they told me that they'd gotten a call from the government telling them to debank me, and they told the government to go pound sand because I was a 40 odd year customer, and I'd stuck with them through thick and thin, and they weren't going to debank me. And they said that they just thought I should know that this was happening. So it wasn't enough to get me banned from social media. They were trying to debank me and prevent me from, and I finally got back on PayPal by calling the consumer protection.
Oh, Pocahontas' little
Yeah, yeah.
outfit.
And somebody from PayPal called me and said it was all a big mistake. They banned my brother and the another guy, and my brother gave PayPal hell, but I'm not that type of person. Like I couldn't. It wasn't the fault of the woman who called me.
I'm like that.
And there was no point. What was she going to go tell her bosses? He was really mad. Well, of course I was. You fucking debanked me. You fucking made it impossible for me to buy things with your service. And all I cared about was getting it back. I got it back. And thank God for my bank. I'll say the name, Wells Fargo. Thank God for Wells Fargo. They put a stop to it. They told the government to fuck off. What are you going to do? Shut us down? And, you know, when I initially called PayPal to ask why my account had been closed, the guy said it was classified. I said, classified? Are you an intelligence service? What do you mean it's classified? And so he started talking, and then he started saying, hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? And then finally he hung up. Somebody who was listening in on the conversation shut off my phone. So
I can tell you that at one point, when you say it was classified, red flags in banking, the bank employee cannot tell you what it is that's going on, cannot tell you the reason, cannot even tell you there is a red flag without risking jail. Okay, this is one of the beauties that we have shoved down our throats by the Obama administration. It was bad enough with the Patriot Act, but with Dodd-Frank's, it got exponentially worse. So if for whatever reason you are a bank officer or a broker and you have a red flag that comes regarding an account, it could be because of a transfer from a country that is infamous for money laundering or whatever. If you notify the customer they got a red flag, you can go to jail. Never mind telling him what the red flag is for. So we are at that point. I do think that we have to go into regulations in this country with a honoring you, flame fucking thrower. We gotta burn them down to the bare essentials, and that includes undoing 98% of all regulations in this country.
well,
They are, in the best case, not needed. On average, not functional. In the worst case, tyrannical.
Well, and also, okay, it was regulations on the banks that caused the subprime mortgage catastrophe because
Yes,
they were ordered to give loans to people who had absolutely no ability to repay them, and so the banks were losing money hand over fist. So they came up with that outrageously dangerous selling of subprime mortgage bundles. And eventually, when it got called in, there was that domino effect, and
it was worse, Thomas. And that is what some of these assholes are propagating out there, because it blames the banks and not the government. What the banks did was spread the risk. At the top of the crisis, the total rate of uh, um, non-performing mortgages was less than 4%. It wasn't such a big deal. It was a proviso of the Dodd-Frank's boondoggle that forced the banks to mark to zero all assets that they couldn't put a market value. Actually, they said mark to market is what the rule is called. But what do you do with assets that do not trade in the market? For instance, certain bonds that a bank issued for mortgages and is not trading in the market because some financial institution bought them all. What do you do? What do you do when Citicorp buys the entire issue of a municipal bond because they think it's a great deal and therefore it doesn't trade in the markets? Well, since there is no market value, they have to mark it to zero. The banks took a paper loss in the order of $30 billion for the quarter ending September 2007. And all turned to shit. And all turned to shit. And when they started looking for day loans from other banks, intra-bank lending, to cover their positions with the reserves, they couldn't get them because other banks, A, didn't know if they needed tomorrow, B, you just posted 20 billion in losses. How do I know you're going to be there tomorrow to repay me? And that led to the credit crunch. And eventually, nobody, not Caterpillar, not the schools in California, were able to get a single overnight loan. And that was the entire economy crashing against a cement wall. And that wasn't done because the banks did this or the banks did that. It was done exclusively because we put the economy of the nation in the hands of Barney Franks and Chris Dodd. Give me a fucking break.
well, see, this is the thing. There were people singing Barney Frank's phrases as this financial genius who knew everything about the banking industry, and I knew that wasn't true. Um, and Chris Dodd was a genuine moron.
Yes, a total moron. He was a Marxist from Connecticut. It doesn't get more moronic than that. And Barney Franks was better cruising around Christopher Avenue than dealing with economics. And both of them were friends of Angelo. Do you remember what that was?
Remember the phrase?
Friends of Angelo. Angelo was the owner of Countrywide Mortgage, the largest mortgage lender in the country at the time. And he had mortgages with 0 to 1% interest rates for his friends. Both Barney and Chris got Friends of Angelo loans from Countrywide Mortgage. Wow. For much less that were suing the likes of Trisha James, or some people want to start a case against Melonhead. These two, nobody gave a shit.
Hmm.
Corrupt little fucks
Hmm.
trading influence for favors, as savvy in economics as they were in Greek philosophy. And unfortunately, what can I say? We put the fate of the nation in the hands of those two, aided by the abomination.
Well, Connecticut elected Chris Dodd, and then they elected a guy who was caught fabricating his service in Vietnam, and they said,
Still there.
yeah.
General Flynn calls him Blazing Saddles Blumenthal.
Hmm.
I call him Dan and Dick.
Hmm.
Eh, He fabricated his heroics in Vietnam. He never stepped. He was in the army. He never stepped in Vietnam.
No.
Never. Not even as a fucking tourist.
And
Still in the Senate.
his explanation when he was caught was, I misspoke. What does that
I
mean?
just,
Misspeaking.
I don't know. I shot him in my mouth. It doesn't mean he didn't misspeak. You don't misspeak. He lied.
Yeah, he lied.
You misspeak when you want to say Iraq and you say Iran.
Hmm.
And you're ad libbing, and it happens to all of us. And you say, because the mullahs in Iraq, and somebody says, oh, no, idiot doesn't know anything. Well, no, it's when you're ad libbing, that thing happens. To invent a whole fucking story out of nuclear, remembering when I was in Vietnam trying to save my friend who was wounded. What the fuck? That is like, that is Hillary Clinton talking about ducking bullets in Sarajevo.
Hmm.
That is Bill Clinton talking about making love to that woman. Those people do not misspeak, they lie.
Hmm.
Dan and Dick is a fucking liar. He's also the senior senator from Connecticut. Apparently, nobody in Connecticut gave a shit all of these years.
No.
And he's still there. And he's still there. And the other two fuckers, the ones that really created the crisis, and by the way, and the crisis began to resolve in March of 2009, when Congress finally figured it out and revoked Section 213, I think it was. I don't quote me on the number because was it 213, 231? I don't know. The section of the Dodd-Frank abomination and allowed banks to value their assets at market or nominal. And all of a sudden, at the end of the first quarter of 2009, all of the banks had a profit of $40 billion without making a single buck, just on paper. That restored their balance sheets, that restored credit in between the banks, but it didn't restore credit to the public. Do you know? You still couldn't get a fucking mortgage or an auto loan. Do you know why? Because as part of the salvage of the banks, the US government was lending, or rather, the Federal Reserve was lending the banks through the Fed window, as it was called, an unlimited amount of dollars at 0% interest. And the banks were lending it back to the government, buying treasury bonds at 3%. So they had a spread of 3%, loaning the government's money. They fired everybody at the loan department. What the fuck do they need them for? Why I, as a bank, would run a risk with you as a customer to make a 2-3% spread where I do have the risk of losing it all if I can get money at 0% from the government and give the government the same money for 3% and have my 3% spread with zero fucking risk. Banks didn't lend to the public anymore. Businesses could go fuck themselves. Mortgages, what the fuck are you talking about? And they had this merry-go-round between the banks and the government for years.
Mm.
And it's all a consequence of regulations. And in this case, the third case, the ones that are particularly damaging, the ones that fill the pockets of the friends of government.
Mm.
You don't get more fascist than this. This is something the Petronists did in Argentina regularly. And in the US, nobody had the balls to do it until Obama and the fascists that came with him.
Well, Obama is still the most lawless president we ever had because
Yes.
he didn't issue executive orders or presidential decrees. He just picked up the phone and told people to do things. He told people to do unconstitutional things, illegal things. He didn't care about his restrictions because in his eyes, he had no restrictions. And, you know, make America great again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to correct
Oh,
the message for the screen. But yes, make America great again, please.
no, Obama presided over the Great Recession that generally the greater the recession, the faster the recovery. And in the case of Obama, he managed to stave off the recovery for about 8 years.
Right, because of what I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Because money never returned to the market. The banks weren't lending.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who tried to buy a car or get a mortgage or get a business loan at the time will tell you the same thing. The banks would laugh at you. At one point, I wanted to buy a building for a business. And I offered the bank, I wanted a mortgage because I wanted to build credit for the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I offer the bank, you give me the loan, and I'll open a CD for the very same amount and use it as collateral, so that you have a fully collateralized loan. They wanted 9%,
Mm-hmm.
and they were paying 1% on the CD. And I said, "What? You want an 8% spread on my own money?" And the asshole told me, "I'm getting 3% out of the government with their money. You are more paperwork."
Mm-hmm.
So I paid the damn building cash. Back in those days, I couldn't. Now I'm trying to sell it. Uh, but that's the thing with these people, man. They were corrupt to the bone. The economy couldn't start up because the economy was dried up of money. There was not a dollar to be found. And an economy without credit, guess what? It doesn't grow. Duh. That was Obama.
Mm-hmm.
All of it was Obama.
Yeah. And the good news is that he's lost all his influence, and next election, nobody's going to invite him. No Democrat is going to invite him to come speak. They remember what happened the last time.
You know, I'm hoping for that. I believe you're right, but I hope for more. because he is running out of his ability to raise funds. Remember, he's the greatest fundraiser for BLM and Antifa that ever was.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when he was bragging that through OFA he had trained 60,000 activists
Mm-hmm.
across the country. Those are Antifa soldiers.
Oh yeah.
So I hope they get him for that. Wouldn't it be great if a terrorist investigation on Antifa ends up at his doorstep?
No, if they arrest the right people, they're going to start singing, and they'll explain where their funding comes from. Because these aren't diehards; these are spoiled twats who have had it really good for way too long. If you think about it, Antifa in the U.S. has never faced any real crisis. The only time they ever had their asses kicked was when Trump created these multi-organization task forces. He sent one to Portland, and they had members of the federal prison Bagoon squads, the guys who were like 9 feet tall, and they used to go out there and just like smash their way through Antifa lines.
Oh, sorry. No, that wasn't for you. Hello.
Are you talking about Russia? Russia is collapsing. Russia is being allowed to get away with murder. I keep hearing that the European Union is warning him that they're going to shoot down his drones, but we had more incursions again today, so I don't think it's going to happen.
No, and it is. 10 years ago, two Russian MiG-21s, was it? Broke into Turkish airspace. And the Turks, without saying a word, without a threat, without anything, shot them down. Then the Russians protested, and the Turks says we shoot down any foreign plane on our airspace.
Mm-hmm.
Why? What was the Russian response?
Wah!
With a little stomping on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Now they violated the airspace of Estonia, Latvia, Poland, Denmark, and Germany.
Also France, I believe it or not.
Apparently France. Of course, President Macron is not going to do much about it, but these idiots are not responding.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when you don't respond to Russia?
More.
They are like a kid with candy with this shit. Shoot them the fuck down. I know spineless, fucking cowardly Europeans don't have it in their DNA. Get alone.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it. Stop pussyfooting. And why is Russia provoking Europe now?
Multiple reasons. They're trying to get on a certain level. They're trying to get the Europeans to stop supporting Ukraine, which isn't going to happen. But they're also trying to distract from the Ukraine war, thinking that the Europeans are going to put all they're going to build up Fortress Europe and concentrate on the skies and forget about Ukraine. And also they're down to their last few. They're running on fumes. Russia is running on fumes, and So it's
militarily and economically.
yep. So it's desperate to do anything to make the world think that Russia is a threat. You know, it's not a paper tiger. So you know they're doing this stupid ass bullshit. The Russians always push until somebody punches them in the nose, and then they stop. And they never when we wiped out the Wagner battalion in Syria, they didn't respond in any way whatsoever.
No, and I always compare him with the Voipeva,
Mm-hmm.
a peculiar kind of snake that looks like a venomous one but isn't, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore she'll never bite.
Mm-hmm.
She will threaten, she will look threatening, but when push comes to shove, she knows that the moment she bites, she's dead.
Mm-hmm.
IO is confirming something I just said. Industrial investment collapsed. We're talking
Mm-hmm.
about 2008-9.
Mm-hmm.
I recall we went from record years for order intake for equipment to dust bunnies overnight, and it stayed that way for years. That
Mm-hmm.
was Obamanomics.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then Poser Index says Obama started his term after the market meltdown started in 2008. Biden started his term after COVID took out Trump. Uh, no, two things here. Uh, yes, Obama's term started in 2009. But I'll be damned if the timing of this mistake of the part of Chris Dunn and Barney Frank under the guidance of Nancy Pigliosi wasn't done on purpose to create a crisis to sink Bush. I've seen it before. I'll see it again. This was done on purpose. And once Obama was inaugurated, they moved to return things to normal. Except what they did was transfer trillions of dollars to insurance companies affiliated with the Democratic Party and to banks affiliated with the Democratic Party, which is what they wanted to do in the first place. IO is also saying there's been a large increase in the last month. This is what you were talking about, Thomas, of rushed and obviously fraudulent end use certificates and companies with fabricated histories trying to order chemical processing equipment uh, from the stands. Uh, from the stands means uh, um, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, which are the fronts for Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Putin is getting desperate. Yes, he is. And that was my point with the incursions in Europe. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a blitz of social media bullshit about how current policies are putting every European at risk. And the Russians are going to start a war with Europe and they're going to bomb European cities and we're going to have to live through World War III again.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you 10 to 1 that the only purpose of the Russian incursions is to create a plausibility for Russian propaganda threatening Europeans with direct war in the
Yep.
expectation that they will run cover led by their pusillanimous leaders. And I think it will happen. What I think is that Trump is not going to let them run too fast.
No.
So, um, do you people remember that as the crisis started, the campaign was in full swing, and that imbecile McCain called for a stop of the campaigns to go to Washington to find a solution, and
Yep.
Obama said, "Fuck it."
Yeah.
What was it? Because Obama wasn't concerned about the crisis, or because Obama knew they had it by the balls?
Well, the thing is that Okay, Obama is like, he's ruthless, but he's also retarded, and
True.
he his whole sort of approach to everything was that he was the smartest man in the room, and that, you know, I remember some politician said that Obama felt that once he was president, he would walk up to some big room where everyone was, and he would open the double door, and like this light would shine behind him, and everyone would go, ah, and it didn't happen. Obama is a vacuous micromanager. That's how he gets his power, through micromanaging. So he fucked up the training of Iraqi soldiers by demanding that every single training step be personally approved by himself, down to the squad level. This is a guy who doesn't know anything about the armed forces.
I'll be right back.
Okay, so yeah, McCain. When McCain was nominated, or when he was chosen, when he won the nomination, I remember a guy said that we're sunk because McCain is going to fail with honor. And I didn't know what that meant at the time, but I understand now that McCain had no intention of winning. Romney had no intention of winning. All these guys were all about failing with honor and taking their turn. And, you know, Romney was beset by all sorts of psychological issues. And one of them that was he didn't want to surpass his father. Romney's father was a governor, and he was a big deal, even though I don't know anything about him. And when Romney lost to Obama entirely out of his own stupidity, he mopped the earth with Obama in the first debate, to the point where Obama was telling his staff, I don't think I can do 2 more debates. And they said, no, go ahead. And it's because they knew that idiot Steve Schmidt, who was Romney's campaign manager, told him, now that you've won the first debate, go easy on him in the second and third debate, because if you still do this to him 2 more times, everyone will vote for Obama out of sympathy, which is not the case. After Romney gutted Obama, he polled higher than he had at any time in the race. Yep. But what they did was they got the moderator to help Obama, and she admitted later that she lied. And,
and something Romney, that all of us knew the moment it happened.
And Romney just took it. Romney and McCain were all about failing with honor, about being, playing by the gentleman's rules. And
I think they were stupider than that.
Yeah.
I think they were stupider. I remember in the Romney campaign, after the first debate, I spoke with Romney's son, Chan, at length. And I said, why aren't you hitting this fucker harder? You got him on the ropes. Go for the knockout.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, no, because we got this. This is one already.
Yeah.
We can, quote, we can afford to be gentle. And I said, this is politics. You can't ever afford to be gentle.
No.
You hit the motherfucker when he's up. You hit the motherfucker harder when he's down. And you keep hitting the motherfucker until the last vote count is in.
Yep.
And he didn't like it.
No.
But I still believe that. I'm sorry. And I think they were incredibly stupid. They were playing by not by different rules. They were playing a completely different game.
Yeah.
So it's not just that they wanted to look nice; it's that they were totally unable to read what a mafioso from Chicago would do to them
Mhm.
if they gave them the opening. And they gave him the opening, and he went in for the throat.
No, and that's Obama had always done that.
Yes, and he had a lot of help.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of help because what these people did. What these people did. Pigliosi and Reed. Nobody talks about this, but our government is more than the presidency.
Mm-hmm.
In 2006, George Bush became a eunuch.
Yep.
It became totally irrelevant. The government was in the hands of Nancy Pigliosi and Harry Reid.
Yep.
And that happened because a lot of so-called Republicans were very upset that we were at war in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that may be, folks, but if you think you resolve the problem by bringing Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid into the equation, you're shit out of luck.
Well, also, okay, George Bush, I told you this and you eventually came to agree with me. He had a pathological refusal to defend himself.
I agreed with you instantly. I didn't come to agree with you. You said it, and I heard a choir of angels and had an epiphany because it is absolutely true.
His response was, "We'll let history decide," and that's no response. That's a cop out. This is why I support and admire Trump, is because he defends himself to a fault. And,
To a fault, yes.
And this whole notion, okay, all these fuckers voted to go to war, including the Democrats, and
especially the Democrats. Remember when the Hildebeest said, hey, I'm voting for. I'm not voting for because of the information that the administration is giving. I checked it with my own sources, whatever the fuck those are, and there is no question we need to go.
Yep.
Great. 2 years later, she joins the Pigliosi bandwagon and Code Pink, not because the reality had changed, but because they saw a gap they could run a 4-horse chariot through to weaken the president in times of war. What they are is a bunch of traitors.
They were really smart about it because, believe it or not, George Bush's idol was Ted Kennedy.
Yes.
Explain that. And Ted Kennedy was the first person to publicly say that Trump lied, the first politician.
The Bush lied.
He said, exactly, the Bush lied. He said, we heard lie after lie after lie after lie. And what Bush should have done was he should have come out the next day and said, I'm not going to work with Ted Kennedy again until he retracts that lie. He lied about me. I didn't lie.
He knows what he said is not true.
Exactly. And I'm not going to have anything to do with him until he corrects the record. I did not lie. And if I did lie, then I need Ted Kennedy to produce evidence of it, because I have seen no evidence that I lied.
And I want to know who are the sources of Hillary Clinton who were exactly the same as I said.
Well, see, all of them, the Christopher Hitchens said the claim that Bush lied is itself one of the greatest lies in history. And he was correct. Bush didn't lie, and it was transparent that he didn't lie. every single intelligence community in the world agreed that Saddam Hussein was pursuing weapons of mass destruction and sponsoring terrorism, funding terrorism.
And he was.
And he
And he
was.
was funding terrorism. And France and Germany were supplying him with the precursors and materials for chemical weapons.
Yeah.
And Jacques Chirac was offering him to restart the nuclear program
Mm-hmm.
as the only way to ensure the sovereignty of your country, because the French are always that duplicitous. So yes, it was true.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we did find chemical weapons and the
We found
remnants.
We found chemical weapons, and we found Iraqi documents that identified Osama bin Laden as an Iraqi intelligence
An
asset.
Iraqi intelligence asset.
Yep.
And we found
So,
the training camp where terrorists were trained to take control of airplanes with box cutters
yep.
in 35 clicks from Baghdad
Mm-hmm.
in Salman Pak.
Mm-hmm.
And we found that Al Qaeda was operating in Iraq since the 90s. That since the mid 90s, Al Qaeda and Saddam had an operational agreement. I mean, we had the goods on this.
Muhammad Atta went to Baghdad right before the attack.
Yes.
So, the list goes on and on and on and on. And frankly, if you believe Bush lied, then you're an idiot.
Yep.
But
you're right. I hadn't made this connection until you said it.
Yeah.
It was his pathological inability to defend himself that allowed the Democrats to do what they did. If he had used the bully pulpit at his disposal to bury the lies of the Democrats as he should have, it would have been a different history in this country.
Well, the Pentagon created a website with all the evidence eventually, and they had a press conference, and not a single American press outlet covered it. And that wouldn't happen today. Today, there's so many alternative news sources that press conference would be covered and the information would get out.
Yeah.
So the mainstream press is it's tottering on its last legs, and Bush was a victim of his own mental issues and emotional issues, and the fact that the press was much more dominant than it is today.
Yes, absolutely. Remember when Jack, I do love the name, I'm sorry, Jacques Chirac gave a press conference in Paris in 2003. And in that press conference, he emphasized that France was never going to allow an invasion of Iraq, that France was going to veto a second resolution in the UN. What he did is make the invasion unavoidable. Because the same as Hamas may now be emboldened by the unjustified and immoral recognition of weaklings in Europe, Saddam was emboldened by France's assurances that the US would back down. If anybody is responsible for the invasion of Iraq, it's France.
Another thing I blame Bush for is that he did nothing to stop the weapons coming in from Iran and the rat lines coming in from Syria. And the reason he didn't was because Condoleezza Rice told him that we needed Syria and Iran in order to further the Middle East peace process. And it's like, what are you talking about? These people don't want peace, and they're bad faith actors. You're never going to get them on your side. So what you need to do is you need to bomb the shit out of the Syrian rat lines and do what the British finally did and bomb the shit out of the factories and the funding offices and all of that in Iran. And neither nation responded, neither nation retaliated.
And if you had any bombs left on the way home, drop them in Paris.
Yeah, exactly.
IO always comes up with an additional point. German and French companies were using falsified material certificates to make it look like things weren't dual use and supplying precision parts like the supergun barrel as piping. Yeah, but also all of the precursors for chemical weapons were supplied by Germany. All of them.
Because the Germans have a history of familiarity with chemical weapons used to kill
experts.
Yep.
And they also supplied the bunkers. And they also supplied the precision materials like the piping that wasn't piping at all. And the French were supplying nuclear material, fissile material, and pushing to build a nuclear reactor. Now, they got scot-free with this one. These fucking socialists are always doing the thing. And Bush should have forcefully exposed them.
Well, what Trump is doing is he's using our economic power. And it turns out that imposing tariffs isn't raising prices and noticeably.
No.
And okay, the Germans have if you buy something on eBay Germany, they won't send it to you until they figure out how to deal with the tariffs. And it's like, okay, little boy. Some of them will. Some of them have just sent them as usual, and nothing's happened. So,
of course, because there are no tariffs on this kind of. If somebody in Germany sells you a photograph or a book, there are no tariffs involved, you idiots.
Exactly.
But if you buy a container of shoes from Germany, yes, you're going to have to hire a customs agent and you're going to pay the tariffs. And goodbye.
Yep.
And the sender doesn't have to do shit. And by the way, I used to do that all the time. We've always had tariffs in this country. Always. It's not something new, for crying out loud. Take a look at Schedule B and cry, morons. It's an entire wall of my office back in the days when everything was paper. Was nothing but the Schedule B, the tariff books. And every time I wanted to bring something into the country, I had to go look for the item and figure out what the tax was going to be to see if the price plus tax gave me a cost plus tariff gave me a price I could live with and sell it to the wholesalers. Duh! It's the whole thing. The level of discussion in this country is below kindergarten level. How is it possible? How is it possible that you and I have been saying from day one, tariffs are not going to have any effect on the inflation. Tariffs are not going to have any effect on the inflation. And they were announcing the end of the world as we know it with the inflation that was going to be caused by the tariffs. And eventually, that idiot at the Fed comes out and says, wow, lo and behold, tariffs didn't have any effect on inflation. I think we're going to lower rates a quarter point. Duh! And we're paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars in salaries. It's the whole thing is ridiculous, Thomas. They've politicized 2 + 2 = 5 because We need to include more people in it.
Mm.
That's the level of discussion in this country today.
Now, there's some airport that says they're not going to get rid of their DEI, and they're willing to forfeit their federal millions of funds. So we'll see how long that lasts.
Oh, do better than that.
Mm-hmm.
Cancel their operating permits.
Sure.
Make it so that they cannot land a plane from anywhere but their own state. See how they behave.
Well, if you hire someone based entirely on their race or gender, then yeah, they're gonna forget to put the nuts and bolts back into the plane after they maintained it.
One. Two. Every single airport is a weak link in our chain to protect passengers from terrorist attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want the people in charge of security at airports, and I don't mean ATF and all that bullshit, I mean security at the airport. Do you want that in charge of a DI hire? Do you know what the consequences would be?
Well,
Al Qaeda is already revived the plot to drop 12 American airliners, except that now they're not targeting airliners going to Asia, they're targeting domestic flights.
oh, of course.
And they want 12 American aircraft to drop from the sky, more or less at the same time.
My guess is a plurality of Democrats would want to see that happen, because then they could blame Trump, and that they wouldn't actually feel bad about the thousands of people killed as a result of a plot like that.
The fuckers actually would want that.
I think so.
And people who want to protect DEI hires at airports are begging for it.
Mm-hmm.
At some level, they must know that we definitely need the most capable people, regardless of color, nationality, or even language. They must know it.
Well, I want to know, how many people of color are they turning away for being unqualified? My guess is it's a tiny number. The British Royal Air Force has a goal of trying to make half of their pilots women. Now, here in the U.S. Air Force, about 5% of our pilots are women. So this means that basically the Brits are going to have to bribe women in order to be pilots.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not going to give them any tests. They're just going to give them an airplane and say, look, we've got women pilots. I don't think
we had women pilots in Arrow. But do you have any idea what percentage of the pilot force in the U.S., civilian and military, is women? Women do not pick this career for many reasons.
Yeah.
And you cannot force them.
No.
There is no bribing them enough. It's not going to happen, assholes. But then again, the Labour Party in England wants to do a shit ton of things that are not going to happen.
True.
Not just this. Not just this. And can you, by any chance, be astonished at the fact that the idiots in England want half of their pilots with tits?
No, it's just typical British brainlessness, British government brainlessness. They're not thinking about any of the consequences. The toughest, one of the toughest U.S. Army courses to pass is the Ranger course, and you apply for it. you get one chance, and if you fail, you have to go back the next year. The first female ranger was given multiple chances, one after another, one after another, one after another. And finally, they lowered the number of things she had to do, and then she passed. And then they said, "Look, the first female ranger." She was utterly unqualified to be a ranger, and that was preferable to not having a female ranger. And the Brits are the same way with their pilots. They're gonna bribe women into becoming pilots, and then they're going to make it really, really easy. Okay, Obama was a DEI president, and
Yeah, did.
South Park is currently savaging Trump and the Trump administration. I don't remember them doing anything about Obama. If they did do anything about Obama, it was very, very gentle. Obama was carried on a satin cushion for the 8 years he was president. And comedians defended that by saying there's nothing funny about him. There's nothing you can make fun of about him.
Oh,
So,
give me a break.
yeah.
The guy, the whole guy was a joke that told itself.
Well, exactly. Mr. Teleprompter with his big fake black accent. Come on.
Remember when he told the wrong story about how he met his wife?
Mm-hmm.
And he went on in his speech telling how they met in high school
Mm-hmm.
in Hawaii.
In Hawaii, yeah. She was a Hawaiian.
When the fuck was Michelle in Hawaii? Eh, the story was simply untrue. And that is because the writer, either because they wanted to show how stupid he was, or because the writer made it all up just to tell a story. But Obama, reading it in the teleprompter, didn't realize he was telling the wrong story about how he met his own wife. How stupid do you need to be?
Well, also, he said his uncle liberated Auschwitz. The Soviets liberated Auschwitz.
For his, well, maybe his uncle, the communist, was
Yeah, exactly.
with the army.
With the Soviets.
Yeah,
he said
was in the communist group.
He pronounced the word corpsman multiple
Corpsman,
occasions at the same time.
which I heard it of from Ken Dilanian this week, and he said the Marine Corps.
Mm.
He actually said, "I
Yeah,
cannot understand. I can. Well, yes, I can. They're all stupid." But yeah, he as a joke, he wrote it himself.
Yeah. No, the
And
teleprompters alone. I remember seeing memes that were hilarious, but they were all made by conservatives. They weren't made by South Park. South Park, in the end, they pride themselves on their courage, and it turns out they have no balls at all.
no, they never did.
Well, they're Californians, and even though they must have they must have stuffed their houses full of money, they've got their fuck you money, but they're still towing the politically correct line because they're brainwashed Californians.
Yeah. Notice two things. I do want to say this. I've been warning people who watch us now for quite some time that no, Al Qaeda is not dead. They're definitely not on the run right now. Ever since Biden dropped Afghanistan into the hands of the Taliban, Al Qaeda returned to Afghanistan. Their training camps are back in force. Their command and control is being reestablished. You had the second generation asshole in there, which are as bad or worse than the founders, including several children of Osama bin Biden. And by the way, that I didn't misspeak. think that Osama bin Laden is at heart a Biden fanatic, or was.
Mm.
Um, so these assholes are there. They are ready. They started making plans 4 years ago. Al Qaeda attacks don't are not planned in 1 or 2 months.
No,
They're
they're
not.
playing.
They're not. Yeah, they're not off the cuff, improvised, spontaneous demonstrations. They're coming. The plot that I mentioned is one that I know our intelligence is trying to prepare for. There is another one that intelligence agencies uh, warned law enforcement not to wear the uniform or carry badges in certain places to not be identified because the Al Qaeda is planning attacks on law enforcement agents in the US. Surprise! I bet you didn't see that one coming.
Well, their best bet in terms of publicity is to go after ICE. Then we're going to have the leftists defending Al Qaeda.
Yeah, they will.
They will.
They're doing it already. Um, in Europe, if you thought running SUVs over people in Christmas fairs in Germany was bad, watch what's coming. Because in Europe, they're so fucking stupid about these things. They're going to be picking corpses by the dozen.
Well, they don't take precautions. They don't
No,
believe in being proactive. So,
no, and you know, Al Qaeda and all of these people are good people, freedom fighters. They're trying to rid themselves of people like I don't know Netanyahu or Al Sisi, and uh, they're worthy of sympathy and respect. Um, is Brandon Johnson working for Al Qaeda? He hates cops. Not everybody who favors Al Qaeda works for them, my friend. Some do it because of an amateur fever to help. Um, but anyway, the next one, the last two ones, I think we spoke enough about Israel over time, and I hope people don't forget that we know where we stand on that issue. We have the malodorous flotilla about to arrive into Israeli waters. What do you think will happen? I think they're going to be arrested, processed, and most of them deported immediately. And this time, some of them processed by the Israeli judiciary for
mhm.
helping terrorists. What do you think?
Well, I read that the Spanish and Italian navies were escorting Greta Thunberg's boat.
Yeah, with instructions not to cross into Israeli waters, not
Yeah.
to engage, even if fired upon, and it's more of the in the case of Italy, an effort by Meloni to disarm pro-Palestinian protesters all over Italy, and those pro-Palestinian protesters are not Arabs. Are not, they're the old Italian communists and socialists, a few of them that
Mhm.
still remain, that are trying to create trouble for Meloni. And Meloni sent two ships to protect the flotilla until they get to Israeli waters. Then they're the fucking home. Um, the Spaniards is even better. A judge finally decided that there was enough evidence to try President Sanchez's wife and ordered her to surrender to the court so that she could be processed. At that very moment, he decided to send a ship to the
Hey, what?
flotilla, to send the ship to the flotilla. By the way, the ship Spain sent, it's a 300-foot dinghy.
Mm,
The cruise ship I went on last week is 3 times bigger. Okay, this is like so. And also, I spoke with the Spanish admiral that said, "No, don't worry about this. They have instructions not to engage anybody and to withdraw the moment they hit territorial waters. They're not going in. They're not gonna do anything. And if the Israelis do decide to intervene, they're gonna move aside." And all of these, by the way, started when the idiots in the flotilla started complaining of being attacked with rockets from Israeli drones. Think about that. If an Israel drone
pretty
attacks,
benign little rockets.
I was going to say, if an Israel drone drops something on a 40-foot cruiser, what do you think will happen?
Kaboom! Blah 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 blah.
Maybe in a couple of weeks, little bits and pieces will start washing up in some beach. Of course not. Then I saw photographs and videos of what happened. And you can see the rockets going up, not down.
Mm-hmm.
And then they come back. These
Mm-hmm.
drunken bastards took the signals, the flares, and shot them up.
Mm-hmm.
And they came back down. And they fired to a garbage bin. That is the rocket attack. This is beyond ridiculous. And shame on everybody that responded to that in any way other than, "I'll get the fuck out of here, you moron."
Well, I mean, she's lost her mojo. The Israelis aren't concerned about her. They'll arrest her and ship her butt back to Europe until she comes the next time. But you know, these are fanatical weirdos.
They are. They
Mhm.
are. Oh, Io is giving us some information you're going to love. The chancellor ran the complaints department of a retail bank and called herself an investment banker by running the complaints department. And the deputy prime minister and former foreign secretary on a quiz show said that Henry VII succeeded Henry VIII. It's so complicated. It's so hard to remember the proper order. And thought Libya bordered Syria. That was a foreign secretary in England. Hmm. Doesn't surprise you?
No, I mean, I remember Jay Leno used to do interviews out on the street, and he was interviewing these graduates from UCLA. They had their
Oh,
miter
God.
cap on and their gowns, and he said, "How many lungs does a human being have?" And the guy said, "Four lungs."
Good. But
Graduated from UCLA a few minutes earlier.
yeah, I hope it's not from the School of Medicine.
He asked a woman, "Which country borders the United States to the north?" And she said, "Afghanistan."
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
That makes us Pakistan.
exactly.
Minnesota is Waziristan.
No,
which
these
doesn't
are
really bother.
these are the products of California education. They're buffoons. They're blockheads.
Don't worry too much about it because everywhere else in the nation is the same shit.
The same, yeah.
It's the same shit. If I had the funds to do this, I would love to walk down the streets of New York and every other major city asking people simple questions.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the vice president? Stop with the trick questions. Knowing which country is to the north of the US is too complicated.
Mm-hmm.
What's the name of New York's governor?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, simple ones.
Mm-hmm.
I'll bet you 10 to 1 that 80% that do not have the right answer.
No, I mean, I've seen. I remember there were people when Bush was president, they couldn't name the president. They were not living in shotgun shacks in Appalachia. They were young white affluent kids out on the street, and they didn't know who the president was.
As part of the communications course at NYU when I was there, I had to go to. I was told to stick to Washington Square and no farther than 1 block in any direction with a questionnaire. And I had to fill in the questionnaire and ask people 10 questions and then report on the findings. To the simplest question, 90% of the people didn't have an answer.
Mm-hmm.
What's the capital of New York? I'm not asking this out of some French villagers
Mm-hmm.
on the foothills of the Alps. I'm asking this of a New Yorker.
Mm-hmm.
Only 2 out of 100 said Albany.
Mm-hmm.
And this is 1981.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are really generally stupid. Today, it's even worse. I'll bet you 10 to 1 that today the results would be worse.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps that's why I've all but lost my capacity for astonishment. Eh, throw anything at me. I'm going to go, uh-huh.
I tried to watch a movie with Richard Gere and Winona Ryder where he plays a Playboy restaurant owner and she's a young woman who he falls for. And it was so fucking New York City that I couldn't deal with it. The way those people communicated with each other, it was appalling. It was like nobody was real, and it was just like at some point he's walking with his friend and the friend's wife, and he's cracking one-liners, and they're like, "Don't tell me you're going to go for her." Oh man. And it was so blue state. It was so, I mean, and the trailer said, she was a free-spirited young woman, and all I saw of her was her going like a baby, and there was nothing about her that would cause this professional womanizer to like seek her out and be enhanced by her, but entranced by her. And I found that in a couple of movies where they all take place in New York City, and everybody's got this insufferable vibe that the way they talk to each other, it's like, you guys aren't real friends. You guys are performing, and I can't deal with it. I'd much rather watch
in real life. In real life, it's not much different.
Well, exactly. I know it's based on real life because I've seen enough New Yorkers interacting, and it's everybody's got shtick. That's what freaks me out.
Yeah.
There's like the blue collar shtick. There's the intellectual shtick. There's the mechanic shtick. There's the baker shtick, and I don't know. It's just really eerie. I'd much rather watch a series about a cowboy in Wyoming meeting a cowgirl. You know.
If you want to know what's life like in Tribeca, Soho, take a look at Woody Allen's Interiors.
Yeah.
It is the most accurate picture I've ever seen. It's like neo-realism.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, they are so fucked, Thomas. I saw a video of a gang of Nigerians chasing people out of a corner because that's the drug stop and they don't want anybody in the immediate vicinity. And as I'm watching this, I said, fuck, I know this. Holy shit, that's my post office.
Mm-hmm.
10013. For people from New York, 10013. They're at the corner of fucking Canal Street and Church.
Mm-hmm.
The border between Soho and Tribeca.
Mm-hmm.
Two of the fanciest, most expensive neighborhoods in the world, let alone New York.
Overrun with Nigerian drug gangs.
Fuck me!
Well, elect Mamdani. He'll fix it. He'll solve everything.
When I lived there, and New York was coming out of bankruptcy, and most of Tribeca were warehouses and sweatshops. I lived in a building that had just been converted to condo. That's why I had a loft there. But all along, it was wholesalers or sweatshops. They were still making textiles. I would go buy clothing at sweatshops where they would put the brand you wanted on the shirt on the way out. So I liked that shirt, but I wanted to be a penguin shirt or a Wrangler shirt. And they would put the logo right on the way out. A Lacoste, no fucking problem. By the way, they made the shirts for all of these people.
Mm-hmm.
There were no restaurants, no supermarkets. My closest supermarkets were in Chinatown or down by NYU. Then it blossomed. All of those sweatshops and wholesalers became lofts and luxury apartments, and the rest followed. And where you used to have the sweatshop, now there is a Dior or a Versace. And now it's being overrun by Nigerian drug gangs.
Mm-hmm.
The people in the management of the city of New York are the biggest imbeciles on the history of the planet.
Well, the voters are.
Well, that too, obviously. Otherwise, the people at the management of the city wouldn't be the assholes they are. But it's insanely stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going down the drain.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that in the not too distant future, probably we're one riot away
Mm-hmm.
from Rolex and Dior and all that jazz saying fuck you
Mm-hmm.
and cutting losses. And if this idiot, if this fucking imbecile, what is it that I called him? Because he's a communist, uh, Uganda-born communist little shit, mommy's boy who never worked a day in his life is actually elected mayor. the whole thing is going to go to shit in such a short time.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to leave everybody dizzy.
Mm-hmm.
Not just because of pandemic, but because the voters that elect this shit are going to put in that city council every good for nothing they can lay their hands on.
Mm-hmm.
And they're already mostly stupid, but they're going to be destructively stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And I, for one, will not be in any way astonished. Um, Mandami. I call him Mandame, which Spanish speakers will understand. Uh, but anyway, fuck them all.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas, we are a half an hour past our bedtime.
Oh.
Uh, so I'm going to give people a message. And folks, oh, yeah, we spoke about Russia and all that jazz. So if anybody has any question, save them for next week. People, I put some messages here and there experimenting with things. I am now, after YouTube's, or rather after Alphabet's letter to Jim Jordan, confessing to YouTube and Google, censoring people and persecuting us like they did and demonetizing us like they did. No, it wasn't our fantasies. We did not have some kind of paranoid delusion of being persecuted. No, no, they were doing it, and they saw it. They also said that they have sunsetted all of the terms of service that they earlier claimed didn't exist. How can you sunset something that didn't exist, Thomas? Eh, But that included, speaking about um, COVID or elections or the stolen
Mm-hmm.
elections. Um, and we've had a discussion, Thomas. I don't know if I told you, with the quads,
Mm-hmm.
and we decided that. Well, I was adamant that I'm not moving back to YouTube because fuck 'em. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but some of them thought it wasn't a bad idea to simulcast with YouTube.
Yeah, that's fine.
And what I said is, well, let's give it a try. So yesterday, I uploaded the video of our conversation with General Flynn
Mm-hmm.
in March of 2021 that led, uh, number one, to YouTube deleting that video and what you might call it, and suspending the channel. You
Mm-hmm.
know, aren't they wonderful?
Mm-hmm.
And I put it back in. I did a premiere last night,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see if there is any reaction from YouTube.
Okay.
The very same video that they had taken down. If they don't,
Mm-hmm.
by the end of next week, we're going to be simulcasting all of our programs on YouTube.
Okay.
So I have been careful up to today to not engage with the YouTube chat. As of this week, um, I'm going to give it a try. I mean, while simulcasting, at least we're going to be checking that. For some people, it may be an easier way to contribute to our channel. Although, let's face it, I don't like it because YouTube takes a 45% bite out of everything, and Odyssey doesn't. So I still prefer that people contribute to the channel through our website or Odyssey. But now, I begged them not to before, but now if they want to contribute through YouTube while this experiment lasts, sure. Why not? The members only programs will be simulcasted in Odyssey and YouTube for members only in both channels. There you go. And the only reason I'm not doing it in X is because X does not allow me to broadcast videos for members only. And that's it. If you can, please contribute. Press on support. Uh, Send the super chat. Come to Odyssey, same thing. Go to quadverum.com/support us or subscribe to at the Brother Line in YouTube. That'll help us stay on air. And with that, I'm done. Thomas, you have a last word for us?
Crapulous.
Crapulous? You're not suggesting I was crapulous just now.
No.
Oh, thank you. I very much appreciate it. And on that note, I'm happy I'm not crapulous. Good night, folks, and see you tomorrow for the quad meet. Have a good one.